Hello and welcome to the ISCA Thursday Super Cup Series as we are going to be tackling the TLC 300. You heard that right. The TLC 300. 300 miles at Darlington Raceway. The track, too tough to tame. This is going to be quite a long and arduous journey for these drivers out here tonight. They have to conquer 300 miles. I mean, that is a long one. I'm telling you, these guys are going to be wore, snap out. I mean, this is the track too tough to tame. A very physical racetrack. 1.36 miles of just pretty much just brutal racetrack. I mean, of course, my name is Brian Britt. I have Big Al in the booth with me. Big Al, I mean, what do you think of Darlington? These guys got their works cut out for them.
Definitely going to be a long night, Brian, and I think we probably got the better seats. The guys that will be sitting in the driver's seat, if you will, they're going to be in for it. And this being the first race of the playoffs, a lot of implications on the line here.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're going to get right into the playoff points here in just a moment. Of course, 300 miles, 229 laps on the docket here tonight. Stages are 45 and 105, so about equal stages there. 4 sets of tires actually down in the pits. That's a big deal. 4 sets of tires down in the pits. I mean, this place eats tires for breakfast, so I think really long-run setups are going to be what you're going to want to have here as we see, of course, the fuel window being 75 laps. And we were just watching qualifying there from Patrick Gitter. He's kind of, I do believe, trying to get the tires. I don't know if this is some sort of a way to get the tires heated up for qualifying. You kind of can see what he's doing here, Big Al. But let's take a quick look at the points we're talking about. This is the first playoff race, of course, of the Super Cup season. Patrick Gitter is at the top of the board. He's got 6 wins so far this season. Second place, Matt DeCiani. He's got 5. Brandon Pasalacqua is in third in the playoffs. Fourth place, Brian Johnson. Fifth place, John Schaffner. Sixth, Chris Johnson. Seventh, Shane Parrish. Eighth, Scott Naslin. Ninth, Kenny Powell. 10th, Darren Mullins. Of course, 11th, Greg Wychinski. 12th, Randy Mullins. 13th, Ryan Strunk. 14th, J.C. Evans. 15th, Mark Sanchez. And 16th, Alexander Carr. That is the top 16 in points. And those are the guys that are going to be fighting elimination style to make it to the championship here, Big Al.
Yeah, absolutely.
You see, of course, Patrick Gitter doing that qualifying. I wonder if that's going to work for him because you saw that was very interesting to see that he was really making a concerted effort to warm the tires up for his qualifying. So we have to really see how this works out. He was not as fast in practice as some of the other drivers. So, and I know a lot of drivers really put a lot of weight here on qualifying at Darlington. I mean, of course, you know this as well. Track position is pretty important at this track.
Yeah, especially where we're at in this stage of the season, Brian. You're going to want to get a good, strong start, and you're going to want to finish strong throughout each one of these stages because you don't have a lot of time to make up those points. So drivers are going to want to make certain they take every opportunity they possibly can to collect as many points as they can.
Yeah, and speaking of which, stage points in the ISCA are incredibly important. I also do want to give a congratulations to Brandon Pasalacqua. Of course, he's not at the top of the board right now in the playoffs, but he did actually secure the regular season championship last week at Daytona. So we're glad to see that for sure. He definitely earned it, and hopefully he'll have a significant playoff. I do believe he will. I mean, just considering Pasalacqua has been consistent all season long. But I think here in the playoffs, consistency is good, but I think the most important thing is you're going to have to get wins, and I think that's going to be something that he's going to be gunning for as we have about 50 seconds left here on the clock here in qualifying. And, of course, we're watching Miller Bonds. He just completed his qualifying run. Of course, Cody Colley out there as well. I think he just completed his, so it looks like for the most part everybody has wrapped up their qualifying efforts. With that, we'll go ahead and take a step away, pay some attention to our sponsors. We'll be right back as well. Of course, we'll do our national anthem first and then our sponsors. But we'll be right back with some racing here at the track. Too tough to tame, the Lady in Black.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we less gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
The night time is the right time. Remember what I told all my drivers? Reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time. Drivers, start your engines!
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms, from camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I'm so comfortable, bro. We get a hug, man. What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
And we are back. And of course, we have the grid set for this evening's action. Patrick Gitter, we saw that little bit of a tactic he was using to warm up the tires, and it seems like it has worked as he hits a 28.789 and he grabs the pole position. Of course, Matt DeCiani, teammate there, starts in second place. He was actually a little under 2/10 faster there. Randy Mullins, of course, starts in third. Brian Johnson in fourth place. Fifth place, Shane Parrish. Sixth place, Darren Mullins. Seventh place, Brandon Pasalakwa, regular season champion. Of course, Jeffrey Souza in 8th. 9th place, Frank Flores. 10th place, Greg Wachinski. And 11th, Josh Schaffner. Of course, Randy Belk starts in, Randy Belk starts 13th. Chris Johnson in 14th. 15th, Miller Bonds. Cody Colley in 16th. 17th, Kenny Powell. Paul Olson in 18th. 19th, Kevin Zaziak. John Binder in 20th. And I do believe 21st, Jeffrey Ford and Ryan Strunk rounds out this 22-car field.
Yeah, I was pretty excited going through the lineup there. When I got about the 13, though, I heard you actually come over me and realize that I was ATVO'd. So sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I did not get to do my rather exciting intro. Speaking of exciting intros, Brian, what are you expecting to see from this race here tonight? Because this is going to be a heavyweight bout. This race scheduled for 229 laps, some 300 miles. It's going to be a doozy. Pace car down and away.
Oh, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be wild. I think it's going to be all about survival. I think that's what it's going to be all about. We're going to see some rough and rowdy racing as the green flag is out for the first time here at Darlington Raceway, my home track and one of my favorite tracks. As you see, Patrick Gitter enters turn 1. Now, turn 1 and 2 at this racetrack are pretty much it's a game of chicken when you're side by side going through there. You really don't want to be side by side going through 1 and 2, and you can see pretty much it has single filed out very quickly. As you can already see, Patrick Gitter has secured the lead, right? Randy Mullins, a really good qualifying effort for him. He's up to that second spot already. He won that game of chicken going into turn 1.
Randy and Darren Mullins both putting down some blistering laps there during practice, so I know these guys are definitely going to have pretty fast race cars here, Brian. But, you know, I just realized one thing.
Whoa, Randy Belk sideways in front of Miller Bond. Does the caution fly?
It should be flying here pretty soon, and he did make contact.
No caution.
Also got up in that.
Green flag is still out.
That
I'm going to take a look.
Trying to get back up to pace speed. Kenny Powell and Randy Belk, both recipients of that dreaded meatball flag, Brian.
Taking a look back at it right now, looking at the previous incident, you can see up front there, Randy Belk and Miller Bonds getting together here. Kenny Powell tries to dodge the wreck, and unfortunately that 33 comes all the way down. So Powell just really nothing he could do.
2 weeks in a row, Kenny Powell, unfortunately, inadvertently balled up in some melee there on the racetrack. But last week, he still had a fast car at Daytona. I don't know if it's going to work so well for him here this week at Darlington.
And look at this accident right here. I mean, Randy Belk, nothing he could do really at all either. I mean, he was kind of just running his own race there. Miller Bonds had a huge run on the exit of turn 2 and pretty much turned the 33 into the outside wall. And that is just an unfortunate incident that does not bring a caution. We saw a lot of drivers also making some very big moves to avoid this.
Yeah, and also that caution, that incident rather occurring very early within stage 1. So Kenny Powell does have the meatball flag. He'll be coming down pit road at this time. Going to go down at least a couple of laps. We'll be monitoring to see exactly how much damage that 24 car did sustain. But remember, this is
slow on the bottom right here on your screen. I think he hasn't fixed it yet. Go ahead, Big M.
Yeah, this is not the position that he wanted to find himself in because this is the first playoff race, Brian. And so not only is he going to be losing out on some valuable stage points, probably also going to affect the way he actually finishes this thing. So, yeah, Kenny Powell not wearing the shoes I think that he picked out to wear with his suit this morning.
No, not at all. And I know that those guys put a lot of preparation in for this race as well. I mean, we're talking to Kenny Powell. I talked to Kenny Powell a little bit before the race. He spent a lot of time really getting prepared for this, figuring out which setup he was going to be running on the race car. And all that time and preparation is just now moot, essentially. But last week, I do believe, or one of the weeks past, he had issues that were similar to this, but he still got back out there and ended up finishing not as bad as he could have. So, I mean, he still has an opportunity. If he just survives this race here, and just continues to go. I mean, he's 1 lap down right now. Now actually 2 laps down. So if he just gets back out here, I mean, Darlington's a track where we're going to see a lot of these drivers not make it to the end. And if he just tries, it looks like Cody Colley getting out of the way there.
Yeah, all I'm saying is, there's a long way to go here. A lot of racing left, but, this track is not Daytona. So when you do actually, and you see what happened, I mean, a lot of contact right there coming early on for those guys. Kenny Powell off the jacks and away, so not receiving a whole lot of damage. That's going to work out in his favor. Still going to be playing catch-up, though, Brian, as we do have a lot of racing to go, but he is going to be at least 4 laps down by the time this is all said and done.
Yeah, this race is going to be all about long run potential here. For the drivers that were able to miss that accident and did not lose a whole lot of time because of it, they're going to really be prioritizing trying to make sure their long run speed is up to snuff. I know one driver in particular that was really working on long run was Chris Johnson. He had a car whenever he first kind of unloaded here tonight, thought that he was just really good on that 40-lap run, but he wanted something that was a little bit better longer than that. So I suspect that he put a lot of effort into that, so that you could just really see the priorities for most of these drivers is to try to go as long as you can, because you know how the ISCA is, as we see Josh Joffner trying to pass Greg Wyszynski, and he's going to make that pass stick out of turn 4.
Yeah, and eventually these guys are going to have to try to make up for that time that they did lose because, no caution. This track's pretty wide, like a lot of other tracks. That racing surface, though, very narrow racing line, really single file most of the way, especially through 1 and 2. So drivers, I mean, if you do get unfortunately caught up in some melee like Powell did, you're really going to be drawing the short straw here tonight.
Yeah, these guys are going to, the guys that are like 1 lap down or more are going to be really waiting on that stage caution to come out. And, of course, you're not even guaranteed to get a lap back at that point, considering Powell, of course, is not the lucky dog at the moment. Cody Colley is, of course, he's 1 lap down. So when the stage caution comes out in about 30 or so laps, he's going to be able to get the opportunity to get that lap back. I'm noticing, though, Randy Mullins starting to put some pressure on Patrick Gitter here for that first-place position. About 2 tenths separate those two drivers. And behind Randy Mullins as well is a train of race cars. Now, one driver I'm really looking at, Big Al, that always seems to be the best on long runs is Shane Parrish. Every race we've ever been to that requires you to have some sort of proficiency in long runs, Shane Parrish is always he always shines. So I suspect that 66 is going to be strong here tonight.
I figured you were going to say that. As you were sitting there going through your spiel, I was watching because Shane Parrish is my pick. I mean, he is driving that 66 Ford Mustang, man. And so, way to go, Shane. Definitely going to be rooting for you here tonight. Hopefully you can pull that thing somewhere up into the top 3 before this thing's all said and done. But, Brian, a lot of drivers here, because this track is so tricky, like you said, it's a track too tough to tame. They're going to have to take some chances and get jiggy with it because you're not going to make those slots up on the racetrack.
I do want to mention here, we see a race car. Of course, Trayton Paints has been having some issues here as of late. Of course, they were hacked a few days ago. I do want to mention, though, I think that with all that drama and stuff like that, some of the paint schemes out here, I think, have been somewhat not working. One paint scheme in particular that is not working is Darren Mullins in the 64. He is actually in the 6th place position. You see that all-white race car? That is him. So I just wanted to go ahead and shout that out. If anybody out there was watching and was looking for Darren Mullins, on my screen at least, he is showing up as a completely white car. I don't know about you, Big Al. What's he showing up as?
I thought that was Clayton Bigsby.
Oh, my goodness. But here comes Brandon Pasalacqua really putting some pressure on Shane Parrish. Now, this is a track that you're going to see a lot of these guys have somewhat of an accordion effect. When one driver makes a mistake, the momentum is interrupted, and a lot of these other drivers have to somewhat be able to predict that, and that could cause a lot of stack-ups. That's what we see. A lot of this racetrack is very hard to back off of the gas pedal because you're going to be pretty much, like I said, an accordion effect. All these drivers behind you are going to be coming right up into your rear end.
Yeah, because these guys are going to be jockeying for position because, like we said, this isn't the easiest place in the world to pass. I mean, it's going to be pretty complicated and complex to try to make that happen.
Yeah, very much is. As Patrick Gitter still leads this parade here. But Randy Mullins definitely keeping him honest as he's got about a 10th now to Patrick Gitter. Matt DeCiani, though, keeping control of that third-place position. We'll see for how long, though. I'm telling you, I've been liking the speed that we're seeing from the Mullins guys. I mean, you know, Randy being the son and, of course, Darren being the father. Both of those drivers seemed like they unloaded some very fast race cars here tonight, but we're seeing a lot of pressure being put on Darren from Brian Johnson here. Let's take a look on board with Johnson.
I think the biggest thing is going to be, too, like you said, we'll be looking for those guys that really got these cars set up for the long run. Probably not getting a lot of opportunity to actually get long runs in this week because Darlington is a tough track. So it does generally breed a lot of caution. So here it is tonight. Guys definitely going to be able to put their setups through the paces here, and hopefully we'll be able to see who's going to fare the best.
And we're watching right now through Brian Johnson. I think watching in these cockpits, look at that, almost a big movement with the wheel. Johnson was able to get clear of Darren Mullins. He moves up to the 6th place position. But you could just see how much counter steering that he had to do there. Got very loose out of turn number 4. But the cockpit camera really shows how much the racing line, how narrow it is. You talked about how narrow the racetrack is. Of course, you got all that apron down there. That is not really usable when it comes to racing at this racetrack. So you can clearly see there's barely enough room for 2 race cars on this racetrack to run side by side. And when you do, it makes you incredibly slow. And he is definitely trending towards the loose end out of turn 4. So you can tell a lot of these drivers are starting to struggle with the handling of the race cars. Now, handling is everything at this racetrack now. If Brian Johnson tries to correct that handling he's having in turn 4, though, it will mess with the handling in 1 and 2. That's one big thing about this track as well. Both sides are completely different.
Absolutely. I mean, it is 2 tracks within 1, and now Kenny Powell's going to find himself with that lead pack breathing down his neck. Patrick Gitter is going to be slowly making his way up on the Powell. So it'll be interesting to see exactly where Powell puts himself, you know, because he is going to go another lap down. But the question is he going to fight for that, you think, Brian? Or you think he's just going to kind of slide out of the way and let everybody roll by?
Yeah, I think he's going to end up having to let him go. Because, I mean, this is such a treacherous track for lap traffic. I think that the best thing for Kenny Powell to do will be just to get out of the way. I mean, you know, if he costs us a big pileup, a lot of these drivers are not going to be writing him any Christmas cards, that's for sure. So I think I would just, you know, this is a long season, a long playoff that we have. I just would get out of the way because I wouldn't want anybody to be upset with me later in this season. You know, whenever the chances of me getting eliminated or not are in the hands of someone that maybe doesn't like me anymore, I don't know. What do you think?
I try not to think, because this is one of those situations where, you know, and here's what I mean when I say that is I just don't do South Carolina. That's what I come to terms with. I mean, whether it's Darlington, whether it's Myrtle Beach, I'm just going to sit back and watch on this one. I just don't know.
Well, I appreciate you insulting my home state. But look at that. Kenny Powell getting past, and he did not really make it easy for those guys. He kind of just, you know, ran his line. So that's an interesting thing. And, you know, you've always said this, too, that these guys don't have to get out of the way. You don't have to. But this is one of those tracks where I think it's a lot more of a better idea to get out of the way. But Patrick Gitter, of course, was able to successfully make that pass, and it looks like everybody else pretty much got by him as well. They caught him at a good spot, I'd say, in the middle of the straightaway. That's kind of where you want to catch a lap car.
Yeah, and Powell, you know, he did take a pretty hard shot there to that inside wall, so his car's probably not handling the best. And having handling woes at a track like Darlington, that's not going to do you any favors as well. So the 33 car, though, Randy Belk, he is actually back out on the racetrack, finds himself some 18 laps down. But once again, Patrick Gitter will be encroaching upon his personal space as well. So, you know, now we're going to start to see that lap traffic come into play, and that's going to make this day a lot longer here, as we're just now almost halfway through. We're just over halfway through the first stage.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of lap time fall off, too. These guys pretty much, race pace is about a 29.2 or 29.1, somewhere in there. We've already fallen off about a second now. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. Now, I'm seeing one thing that's kind of impressive, though, from Miller Bonds. Miller Bonds was involved in that accident earlier with Randy Belk. He's actually showing some incredible speed right now. Last time by, he was the fastest car on the racetrack, if I'm not mistaken. So it seems like Ryko has a pretty good long run set up here. And that's going to be key. So watch, you see Miller Bonds, he gets by, of course, Kenny Powell. He's now right behind J.C. Evans. Now, Evans has been looking really good as well. Looks like he's rocking a little bit of a different paint scheme here tonight. But it still does, I do believe, have a in memorandum for a lost loved one of his.
Not sure what's going on there with the 64 Darren Mullins, but he actually did pull down to the apron and actually put that thing on the hook. I think he's probably going to be done for the evening. But yeah, that's unfortunate, man, because I really thought that he did have a little bit of a sled there going into this thing.
Yeah, I want to see what happened here with Darren. You can see Darren was battling, I think, with John Schaumner. We're taking a rewind here, a little bit of a replay, and we're gonna see exactly if we can find out what happened. You see, Darren very wide in 3 and 4, and you do want to run higher on the racetrack in 3 and 4. But you see, here comes Chris Johnson, gives a bit of a bump to the rear end. Oh yeah, they had some contact, and I think that this might be why Darren ended up taking a trip to pit road. Maybe some mandatory repairs. You didn't see a meatball though, did you?
Yeah, I think he did have a little bit of a meatball, but either that, he just really didn't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
Also, man, Greg Wachinski, who had a rocket ship, he's also found himself a little bit in harm's way. Going to be watching to see what's that. You might want to go back and take a replay on him.
Yeah, looks like he just had a little bit of a spin around. See, this is what's crazy about Darlington, too. Cautions don't always come out when you're having issues like this. As you see, that was Jeffrey Souza that turned the 5 of Greg Wachinski. We're going to have to take another view on it. Good eyes, Big Al, catching this. You see right here, Greg Wachinski coming out of turn number 4. Jeffrey Souza gets to the inside. Wachinski, I think they just, I don't know. I mean, it looks like they just met in the middle a little bit there. I mean, Wachinski didn't really hit anything. Spun it pretty much complete 360 and now is back moving again. But that did cost him quite a bit of positions. I am glad you were looking at that because, I mean, a lot of times at this track, these wrecks do not cause cautions because they go off of the racing surface. And so that just really shows you that you're at the mercy of the drivers around you. So they do have that, I think, ability to kind of turn you around, and a caution is not going to come out and save you.
Yeah, and you know, the thing about it is, it's just no easy way to get around guys. And as we get longer into the runs and that tire wear degradation comes into effect, you know, the car just doesn't do exactly what you want it to do. We were watching Chris Johnson earlier, and he was having a lot of inputs into that steering wheel trying to keep that car actually pointing in the right direction. So you couple that now with a little bit with tires and a car that's long in the tooth, and it's going to make for some pretty sporty handling situations.
Yeah, I think Randy Mullins might be starting to struggle as well here. He's falling back to now 5th place, got passed just now by Brian Johnson. Matt DeCiani up to 2nd place, about a half a second back from Patrick Gitter now, as we come to, I do believe, very close to 10 laps to go here in stage number 1. So we're seeing a lot of drivers really starting to struggle. I like what I'm seeing from the EPI guys. Seems like they have pretty good long-run speed at the moment. Brian Johnson as well. Seems like he's got a pretty good long-run race car, but we're really going to figure out long-run later in this race when pretty much the fuel window is 75 laps, and that last stage is going to be quite a long one.
That last stage is definitely indeed going to be a long one, Brian, and it's going to test the grit and the wit of a lot of these drivers here tonight because, you know, some of these guys might not be prepared for that, as we see Frank Flores finds himself down on pit road for what will be an unscheduled stop.
Yeah, it looks like he is coming off of pit road right now, so I think he is came down for tires. That's one thing about it. I mean, I mentioned Chris Johnson again. We had a pretty good conversation before the race, and he was just talking about, you know, long run is going to be very important. Driving style, you know, the driver's inputs is going to be incredibly important here tonight. I mean, it's all going to be about, you know, it's all in the hands of the driver. Even though your setup you have is going to be important, but it really comes down to you too. If you are really driving that race car very hard, you're going to end up burning those tires up, and you're going to have to make extra tire stops. Also, keep in mind, we only have 4 sets of tires down in the pits, Big Al. This pit stop from Frank Flores is going to put him at a deficit at the end of this race.
I tell you what it's going to do. It's indicative of what type of night he's going to have, because if he is having handling woes this early on, it's not going to get any better. And we talked about this, and right now, I mean, we are literally painting brush strokes around every corner of this racetrack. I mean, racing is occurring on every inch of the surface here, so it's just going to make this night that much more exciting. Flores back down pit road again.
Yeah, he might have gotten a penalty. I would assume might want to keep an eye on it if he might have got a penalty, maybe speeding. Very easy to do at this racetrack as well. I do see some smoke on the racetrack, though. I do believe that comes from probably Frank trying to get slowed down to enter pit roads. This is one of the most tricky pit roads in NASCAR as well. So when we do have a green flag stop earlier or later in the race, I should say, that is going to be something to really keep an eye on for sure. Also, keep in mind that this race, I do believe, is going to possibly go into the night as well. So how cool will the track get? Let's actually take a check on how the temperature is.
Yeah, right now it looks like that ambient air temperature is 80 degrees, track temp 89 degrees with the winds out of the south at 8 miles an hour. So, like you said, though, as the day starts to fade and it does get into the night, some of these cars are going to come into themselves, because some of these drivers definitely probably did set it up for the longer, cooler run. You know, if you could just get it to that point. Flores back down on pit road. I think he might just be making his evening a little bit shorter today.
It seems like it. He has now gone 5 laps down, so now we have 15 drivers that are on the lead lap. We'll go ahead and look at Cody Colley's 1 lap down. Kenny Powell now has just passed Frank Flores, so he moves up to 17th. Frank Flores, of course, now 6 laps down. Darren Mullins, 14 laps down. Randy Belk, he is back on the track. He is 18 laps down, so we're definitely having some guys that are having a little bit of some issues out here. And the thing is we're not even halfway. We're not even a quarter of the way through this race yet. And we're already seeing such attrition. I just can't imagine what the picture we're gonna have at the end of this race is gonna look like. Of course, I do believe we're coming up to 2 laps to go in stage number 1, and Patrick Gitter has been the dominator thus far. He was able to get that track position on qualifying with that interesting strategy. He's now out to 1.6 seconds of a lead, and he's going to have 2 laps to go here. And I think he's pretty much going to be able to wave to the fans here in this stage, and it's going to be some very valuable points. Think about this, Big Al. These are the first stage points that are going to be paid in the playoffs here.
Yeah, I know, but only 10 people are going to be able to take advantage of that. So a lot of guys are going to be missing out. And like we said, you know, you're running out of opportunities to actually score points here, as stage 1 slowly is going to make its way into the books.
And here comes Gitter outside of turn number 4. He's going to take the white flag for stage number 1.
A lot of guys are going to have to go back to the drawing board here, Brian, because, I mean, right now it looks like you just kind of stepped into the ring and just got punched right in the face. That's what it's looking like. Not what I was expecting for stage 1. Probably not what a lot of other drivers were expecting for stage 1. But we're just going to have to put this one together and see if we can make it exciting.
Oh, I think they're going to continue to make it exciting. I think this is a wake-up call for a lot of drivers here, this stage 1. I think they're like, okay, we know what to expect. Let's adjust. As the yellow flag comes out, which does end stage number 1, Patrick Gitter, your stage 1 winner. Matt DeCiani in 2nd place, Shane Parrish 3rd. So EPI 1, 2, 3. Brian Johnson 4th, Randy Mullins in 5th, Brandon Passalacqua 6th, Chris Johnson 7th, Josh Schaffner 8th, Miller Bonds 9th, and John Binder in 10th. I'll tell you, John Binder's been looking really good in that 23 car here at Darlington for sure. With that, we'll go ahead and take a brief step away. We'll be right back with our stage 1 winner.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms. From camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band. Maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I'm so comfortable, bro. We get a hug, right? What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
Alrighty, we are back, and of course you can see they are in process of having their yellow flag stops as we just concluded stage number 1. Looks like Patrick Gitter is going to win the race off pit road. Kevin Zosiak, though, has decided to stay out. I'm not sure if this is a very good call, considering we saw over a second of fall off here at this racetrack. I think he's probably going to end up coming down now, maybe just trying to get a little bit of extra, get some laps led. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, or I definitely do not think the 37 is going to end up staying out, but I do believe we're going to be joined in the booth here by our Stage 1 winner, Patrick Gitter.
10-4, got you, Brian.
Patrick, definitely really great run there for qualifying and in Stage 1. You pretty much dominated the whole thing. Seemed like y'all have a really good long run speed here. How big is clean air? And also, I got to ask, what was that in the qualifying, man? We kind of were watching you, peeking over your shoulder. You kept weaving and trying to get those tires up. Is that legal?
I think so. I didn't get a black or anything. I don't know. But yeah, just trying to get the tires up to temp in Q. Done it in officials. But yeah, I mean, I think our long run speed's good. Clean air makes a huge difference. There's really not any room. There's not much room to maneuver at Darlington, so clean air is big. If you get stuck in dirty air, there's really not much more of a lane choice you've got. So I think that's going to be a big strategy for a lot of guys tonight.
Yeah, for sure. And there's not a lot of room for error out here. How do you? Where does Darlington rank? I'd say for you. I mean, it's my home track, so keep that in mind before you answer.
I like Darlington a lot. It's just a very unique track. There's no other track where you run lines like you do here. It's very technical. I'm not far from Charlotte, or not far from Darlington, being in Charlotte myself. So one of the closer tracks to me too.
Alrighty, well, okay, you pass. But great job to you, man. I mean, you've definitely been putting on a great show out there. How are you going to prepare to? I know the track conditions are going to change significantly as well. That'd be my last question for you before we get to shout out.
I think it's just going to be waiting to see what the car does when the track temp changes, when the sun starts to set. Honestly, I'm not real sure what the car's going to do. I haven't had enough practice with that yet, so it'll be a learning curve probably. We'll see what happens. All right, well, best of luck to you. Who can we shout out? Man, got to shout out EPI, Team Conti. Those guys put in a good set this week. Martin PC, C12 Design Shop, and of course you guys in the booth. We appreciate it. All right, thanks, Patrick. We'll let you get back to it. Good luck. That was Patrick Gitter, Stage 1 winner. Definitely a really good run from him. Interesting to notice, or interesting to point out here, he's choosing the top lane. I really like this call from him. I think that, of course, the top lane is the fastest way around this racetrack. So we'll have to see how this kind of all plays out as the pace car dips down pit road. And Patrick Gitter is set to start stage number 2. Of course, this one goes to 105 to 106. And there it is. Green flag is out.
Bottom line, totally not getting the launch that they wanted. Matt DeCiani there looked like he was a little bit surprised. Not sure what actually happened there. But now here we are getting it. Wasted no time to get it in single file here. Shane Parrish all the way up to third. Good run for him. Right back kind of where he started.
Yeah, we're seeing some side-by-side here, I do believe. The 77 of Ryan Strunk, I think you were just getting ready to say that just made the pass by J.C. Evans.
Yeah, he's trying to slip his way on up here and try to, you got to make positions. You got to take advantage of those while you can here. And I think a lot of drivers are going to have to do that here while those tires are fresh, because we've seen as those tires start to wear on, you're not really going to have the advantage to manipulate anything out here, as Randy Mullins is making his move here on the inside of Brian Johnson.
Yeah, he definitely is. Side by side in 3 and 4 goes Randy Mullins. He has not gotten the pass completed just yet. You see that Brian Johnson has the advantage on the high side. We do appreciate Corey Dar liking our stream here on Facebook. Of course, yeah, looks like I do believe Brian Johnson able to defend. And now Randy Mullins is going to be under fire from brother Chris. Now, Chris Johnson, I know, started outside of the top 10. What a really good run for the 99. He's up here banging on the back door of the top 5.
And we've seen that a lot tonight, what you just said, a lot of banging on the back door, because these guys, they're not wanting to lose the momentum that they have. So that's going to cause it to get a little bit more testy, because guys are going to have to they're not going to have to, but they're going to drive it in a lot deeper into the turn. So that's going to be something else we kind of have to watch out for, because the frustration, it's going to start to build here on this single groove racetrack.
Yeah, it's not a short track, but it has a lot of short track tendencies with the way you have to kind of run around this place.
Yeah, Brian Johnson, they're looking to the inside of Shane Parrish. He is trying to advance his position, while brother Chris is doing the same thing simultaneously. Looks like these two are going to actually end up partying together here before too long.
Yeah, this is interesting. Usually we don't see the Chris and Brian racing each other. But I think Chris might be under fire here from Randy again. I don't think Randy's done, as well as we see, I do believe, Ryan Strunk battling with Josh Schaffner.
Yeah, this has got the makings of a Western there. He comes to avenge the battle damaged race car of his father.
Yeah. As well as you see, Ryan Strunk has managed to defend against Schaffner. Greg Wachinski, quite the recovery from him as well. He went from spinning out to now up in 11th place, I do believe, fighting at the moment with J.C. Evans.
And Patrick Gitter, he actually said it clearer than I think anybody could, and now he's actually... Oh! And then Shane Parrish hooks Brian Johnson. Johnson did a 367.20, no caution, though. He's going to have to try to get the wheels of that thing turning again. Might want to go back and look at that one.
Yeah, you see right here, we're going to take a look back at the replay. And I think Brian Johnson definitely had a pretty good lick on the wall. As you see, Brian Johnson goes up the high side in turn 4. Has a good enough run. And I think you see Shane Parrish was trying to side draft in there. Luckily for Brian Johnson, did not hit the wall very hard. So I think he's going to live to fight another day. Let's take another view on that. You can see right here. Let's take a look at this. They're on the front stretch. I do believe, I think that Shane Parrish was trying to side draft Brian Johnson, and unfortunately got a little too close for comfort to that bumper.
I don't know if he was actually trying to side draft. What I think happened is, it's just a narrow lane single groove racetrack.
Yeah, no, I agree, but let's see. You see, but I think Shane just got a little too close to that left rear, and I definitely, that's unfortunate for Shane Parrish and Brian Johnson. Both of them lost a lot of position. Of course, Shane Parrish did not lose near as many. He is outside of the top 10, of course. And you see Jeffrey Souza, of course, was able to even get by him as well. So that was definitely unfortunate. And it really also just tells everybody as well that cautions are not guaranteed like other racetracks. If that happened at another track, caution would have came out. That is not the case here.
Never is. But what we are going to do, though, is we're going to continue green flag racing, and that's what's awesome about it. And, and the one thing I'm going to keep saying is as the sun goes down, tempers are going to start to kind of flare a little bit because, you're out here. Ooh, looks like we got a car into the wall there. I think that's the 77 of Ryan Strunk. Tagging that inside wall a couple of times there.
It looks like, right there. You see him and Josh Schaffner. That was actually the outside wall he got into. Him and Josh Schaffner got together, and Ryan Strunk into the outside wall a couple times, and he's going to move, I believe. What?
I think I was just commenting on how, as this race rolls on, because this groove is so narrow, you're going to start to see more and more things like that start to happen.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, more and more drivers are going to be trying to make passes happen, and it's just there's limited room, and they're packed in like sardines, and it leaves just so little room for error. As, of course, we see John Binder. He's going to give the position back to Ryan Strunk. So Strunk on the march back up to recover. Looks like he did not have too much damage. One good thing about this racetrack, though, when you hit the wall, that outside wall, a lot of times you're not hitting it very hard. You're going to get a Darlington stripe eventually, and a lot of the guys wear it as a badge of honor.
Speaking of badges of honor, at some point in this whole process, unless I've been ATVO'd, Chris Johnson is now your leader. And Patrick Gitter is now in second place.
That is something we completely missed. We were watching the wrecks. Didn't get to see that, did we? Let's see if we can find when this pass for the lead took place. Yeah, this happened quite a bit ago. We just didn't notice. Just too caught up in all the activities behind these drivers. But yeah, Chris Johnson is in the lead. And he's not driving away at the moment. I think he might be burning his stuff up, though. And this is kind of interesting considering he was the one that said he wanted to have a car that had very good long-run pace. We'll have to see if he's going to have long-run pace here.
I don't know, but at some point our race is starting to look more like a bowling match because these cars are starting to get a little bit more sporty here, Brian, and just kind of throwing themselves around into the turn. So I think it probably won't be too long before we actually see a caution come out.
Could be the case. We see J.C. Evans, I do believe, battling with Josh Schaffner. Also, Miller Bonds has made his way up into the top 5. We have seen just a shake-up. Pretty much we've taken the running order and just shaking it up, essentially. Has changed up completely. As we see J.C. Evans, he's right now, I do believe, going to try to hold off. Ryan Strunk, Strunk has made it back up into the top 10. He's now up to 9th, trying to work on 8th at the moment. So a lot of big changes here. Also, Kevin Zaziak, he's up in 7th right now. He's having a pretty good run today in that 37.
Yeah, look at it, Shane Parrish and Greg Wojcinski. I mean, Shane started this thing in 3rd, and he was actually running in 3rd at the beginning of this stage. Now he finds himself kind of hanging back in the back, and I don't know if that was by design, Brian. So, like you said, it's almost like somebody threw the Mentos in the Coke bottle here because the whole thing then got shook up. We're just going to have to see how this one plays out.
And, of course, Shane Parrish was up in the top 3. He got involved in an accident with him and Brian Johnson. And that is why I do believe him and Johnson are outside of the top 10 right now. Of course, we still have quite a long way to go until the end of Stage 2. I do believe coming up to 36 laps to go next time by. And Chris Johnson in command at the moment. This is a completely different picture to what we saw in Stage 1 where Patrick Gitter was the commander. But I do think Gitter has been saving tires. You're seeing, Gitter is starting to catch back up. Gitter is going to get his man. And this is a track that we see a lot of times guys get out in front and they drive away. This is a track you don't want to do that because eventually you're going to get caught because considering how important those tires are. So you could tell, I guarantee you, Chris Johnson right now is probably biting his fingernails, sweating, a lot right now, just considering he sees that relative that Patrick Gitter's coming.
Yeah, but, one thing also to be said, that's clean air. So I guess the question comes in the play. But, we're talking about Patrick Gitter, though. I mean, that's just not some normal dude chasing you. If you think about it.
No, that's the winningest driver this season. He's got 6 wins, and he's the top of the points pylon entering the playoffs. So he's got the most playoff points.
And what I mean when I say that, it's a big difference when you're looking in your relative and you see an Al Nixon versus seeing a Patrick Gitter. If you see Gitter in your relative, yeah, that would be a cause of concern, because you're right. You know, he probably is saving his tires, because, you know, that last stage was nowhere near as long as this stage, but we definitely saw that it did hand a lot of drivers their lunch.
Also, keep in mind, though, as well, that what's hurting Gitter, though, at the moment is that he is in dirty air compared to when that whole first stage he was in clean air. That can also negatively impact his tire wear to where he might not be used to how the car is reacting. You can see just the way we're watching through Randy Mullins' eyes. When you're coming through 1 and 2, dirty air versus clean air matters a lot through these corners. I mean, this is, of course, a 1.3 mile track. It's not a super speedway or a mile and a half, but clean air and dirty air matters probably more here than it does at tracks like that.
I mean, that was one of the points that he did make when you did your, track interview with him. Shane Parrish actually made another move up, and now we got the 12 of Miller Bonds. He just bested Randy Mullins, now finds himself up into 4th place, starting in 9th.
Yeah, Miller Bonds is looking insanely impressive right now. He's got race-winning speed in that 12 machine. I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. I mean, he started, I do believe, farther back. I think he was near the top 10, at the edge of the top 10. Miller Bonds has clawed his way up into the top 5. He's up in 4th right now, and I think there's a very distinct possibility. He's got enough time. If he keeps this up, he might win this stage. But then again, he still got to go through Patrick Gitter and DeCiani and Chris Johnson.
Roger B, 30 laps to go here in the stage at the line. So far, we've seen our second leader of the race tonight, and that's Chris Johnson. He was able to get around Patrick Gitter sometime here in stage 2.
And here we go. We're seeing, a little bit of contact here. The 23 and the 37. Of course, that being John Binder and Kevin Zaziak just had some contact in the middle of 1 and 2. Didn't seem like it hurt anybody very much. But, of course, we saw Zaziak was up in 7th. He is now falling all the way back to, I do believe, 12th, as Binder has moved up to 11th. There's still some, definitely some drama unfolding on the racetrack. But here comes Patrick Gitter, 2/10 back from Chris Johnson. How easy is this pass going to be? How hard does Chris Johnson make it on Gitter? As you see, Gitter is going to run around the top. He's going to get a good run. I don't think Chris Johnson's going to make it very easy. It's very hard to pass here.
Ooh,
and here comes Gitter. Big run out of turn 2.
Yeah, he kind of set him up for that right now. Now he's got to try to maintain that dominant position here going through the turn. In order to make this pass stick, I think he's going to make it happen.
Very classic pass there. He made that look easy. And it's not easy to do that at Darlington, but he just seems like he's got a race car that is handling it insanely well right now. I'm liking what I'm seeing. He's able to really just do whatever he needs to do around this track, and now he has taken claim back of the lead. Now, how far does Chris Johnson fall? As I do believe we're seeing someone come to pit road.
That's
and
Kenny
that is
Powell.
Kenny, yeah. Kenny Powell coming to pit road.
Yeah, he does have another repairs required flag, so he'll be down there getting some work done. Looks like those guys are electing just to put Band-Aids and Bondo on it to keep it going here tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to take a look back and see if we can find out what happened here. I think he had a major collision with the wall. As we're watching him right now, this is, of course, what caused him to have that meatball flag. I think he had some contact out of turn number 2 right there. Boom. Yep, and that is what has dislodged, I'd say, his toe link. And that is what has caused him to have to come to pit road.
Kenny Powell's got bunions. Oh, Powell off the hook, down and away. Another quick stop for him, man. But it seems like every time those guys get any kind of, momentum going forward, just something happens, just kind of pull them back.
And I'm kind of curious. You're seeing that Chris Johnson, he's staying with Gitter right now. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Chris. I mean, even though he got passed for the lead, he looks like he's not losing that much pace. Now, it depends on, I think DeCiani might have a little bit more pace than him to get up here and battle. Now, if DeCiani starts to battle with Chris Johnson, then we're going to see Miller Bonds enter the fray.
Johnson's just got to run his own race. He cannot get caught up into Patrick Gitter's pace, because pace for Gitter is different than it is for Johnson. So if Johnson is going to go out and chase Gitter, well, he's going to probably find himself, he's going to be a sitter. So he's just got to make sure he does Johnson right now.
No, I agree. This is definitely a track you want to run your own pace. You got to really just focus on what you're doing, because as soon as you start trying to match what someone else is doing, you're going to hit the wall, and that wall will not definitely pay you a reward. This track is all about racing your own race, and that is pretty much the key to having success at this track. You cannot race the other drivers around you, because this track requires your full attention. She's a jealous track. She don't want you focusing on another race car.
Yeah, but and we also understand that these are the playoffs, man. So hey, take care of the equipment, man, and just sit in there. And I don't care. So as long as you're in the top 10, we're making points, and that's something that if you're not in the top 10, you're not doing, and you're not going to be able to duplicate that. Matt DeCiani now is going to be running on the inside of Chris Johnson. Johnson's not going to fight for that one. I think he's going to let it go. Now Miller Bonds, his eyes have lit up now, because he saw just how easy DeCiani got around Johnson, and he's rethinking that the same thing himself. It's like, because for whatever reason, is Miller Bonds, I don't think he's in the playoffs though. He's just racing for bragging rights.
Yeah, I don't think Miller Bonds is in the playoffs here for the Super Cup. So he is, kind of an unknown quantity, but still very, very fast race car underneath him, as he's going to come up here and challenge Chris Johnson. Now, does Johnson let him go as easily as he let Matt DeCiani go? That's going to be the main question here, as we're coming up now 187 laps into this race. So coming up quickly, I believe to the 2/3 mark, or should I say 1/3 mark. What a recovery, I got to say, from Shane Parrish. This guy got in an accident with Brian Johnson, fell outside of the top 10. He's up to 6th right now, 3 seconds back from the leader. I mean, this guy, I would not count out the 66. I think that when we get this stage 2 end, watch out for him. He's going to be good on the long run unless he gets him involved in something else. As we see Miller Bonds struggling a little bit to get by Chris Johnson. Johnson gets loose off of turn 2.
Yeah, and I think Johnson, he's got that. It is what it is. I think he just his tires are gone right now, and so instead of him chasing the leader, he's chasing his car. It's just a scenario that you don't want to be in that scenario, but that's unfortunately where he's at. Shane Parrish making his way all the way back up into the top 5 now. He was involved with a little bit of a skirmish there with Brian Johnson, and now he's made his way all the way back up.
Yeah, this is incredibly impressive, I mean, to say the least. He's back up in the top 5. He just got by Brandon Passalacqua. I mean, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from the 66. This is interesting. I think we have a lot of moving parts. A lot of guys that I think have the ability to possibly win this race. And I'm curious to see how this all kind of plays out. We still have 15 drivers on the lead lap, on lap 90. We have, I do believe, coming up to 15 laps to go here at Darlington.
Oh, man, we got a lot. We got so much left to do. I mean, we got green flag. Yeah, wow.
Oh, yeah, this thing is not over by a long shot. We're going to see a lot of different things could change here. I mean, Patrick Gitter, even though he's dominated so far this race, all it takes is one little mess up to go wrong. I mean, Darlington is a place that you lose focus for even a split second. You're going to end up hitting that wall. And could it be like how Kenny Powell hit the wall? If you hit the wall out of 2, A lot of times that's a hard hit. That's not going to be a soft hit. That's going to be a hit that causes your toe link to break. So I really would keep an eye. Oh, and there we go. Some problems. J.C. Evans. He just got a hit hard lick on the wall outside of turn number 2. Let's see if we can see what happened there. Watching J.C. Evans to see exactly what happened. I think it happened outside of turn 2. He got loose right there, corrected it up into the outside wall. Cody Colley was able to gain that spot. Not a hard lick for J.C. Evans, but still was enough to make him lose a position. So a lot of guys really starting to struggle. And the thing is, this racetrack is so physical when it requires a lot of, I'd say, physical labor from the drivers that are driving it. And we're not even halfway yet. I mean, I just can't imagine what these drivers are going to look like at the end of this thing, how wore out they're going to be. As Evans gets incredibly loose out of turn number 4, or should I say turn 2. So driver's struggling right now. You can tell J.C. Evans, he wants this stage to be over now.
Yeah, him and about 14 other drivers. Because everybody is at their wits' end, because this is, like we said, this was going to be the longest run right here. Still got some 10, 11 laps to go in this stage before it's in the books. And guys are definitely starting to feel, that car pull on them. This track isn't fun if you don't have a car that's cooperating.
Well, I mean, it's also, you can have a car that is cooperating earlier in the state or, in the run. But depending on how, if you get really too confident with it and you start driving it a certain way, it'll bite you back. It's not always going to just work out for you easily. If you can't punish it. You cannot abuse that race car. It'll punish you. And I think a lot of these drivers out here are learning that yeah, it's fun the first 5 or 10 laps. That's easy. I can do that. But whenever it comes to 40 laps, that's when it starts to really get difficult, and the car just does not cooperate.
So we had a little bit of a three-way going on there between Ryan Strunk, Greg Wachinski, and Brian Johnson. Well, let's just say that Greg Wachinski came out on the losing end of that, as he got a little bit squirrely, went way down towards the inside there. Now he's just going to be trying to gain back those spots that he has lost again.
Yeah, and you see Brian Johnson has made the pass there up to 9th. Ryan Strunk incredibly loose.
But the problem there for Greg Wachinski is, that took him out of the top 10. So right now, that's not what you want with 10 laps to go, with less than 10 laps to go in this stage. He is definitely going to have to put the hammer down and try to get back there and try to regain those stage points.
I mean, and he's already at somewhat of a disadvantage anyway. I mean, he needs as many stage points as he can get. I mean, I think at the beginning of the playoffs, he's at, I do believe, outside of the top 10 in stage and playoff points. So he needs as many points as he can get here at Darlington, and unfortunately, this just does not seem like it's going his way. Very good in qualifying, very fast in practice, but just not very good on the long run.
He's got a rocket ship. I'm hoping these guys can just kind of put it together, man, and turn this into an awesome sandwich, because right now, it's just looking like, 2 pieces of bread and some busted meat.
I don't think that's what Patrick Gitter's thinking. He's loving his race right now.
Yeah, he's got the deluxe going on.
Yeah, he got the extra meat. He got everything.
Meat and cheese, man.
He's got the boar's head.
and it seems like he's having fun, and that's the difference. It doesn't look like he's out there, fighting the race car. It looks like he's really, just at one with the car and the track, and that's a whole different story than some of the other teams that are experiencing right now.
No, I definitely agree. And, a lot of other drivers you would expect to be successful here as well. Jeffrey Souza in the 14, he's 1 lap down. He is going to be the lucky dog if Kevin Zosiak stays on the lead lap, which I think he will, considering I do believe we're coming down to 5 to go in stage number 2. And it looks like Patrick Gitter's going to be possibly winning another stage here if he has it his way, as he's got 2.4 seconds on Matt DeCiani. But I think the big story, the big headline is Miller Bonds. He's come into the play. He's come to play, and I think that this is the best we've seen Miller Bonds really run so far this season.
Greg Wachinski now slowly. Definitely scrubbed the wall just a little bit as he was actually, he was on the scent of Ryan Strunk. You can tell he is definitely listening to what I'm saying, understanding the playoff implications of this. He has got to put the hammer down here. He needs to get around Ryan Strunk, and he is running out of time to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Both of these drivers are struggling. I think both of them are really not liking the way their cars are handling. And but I think Greg is handling a little bit better right now, and enough to be able to catch up as we come, I do believe, very close to 2 to go here in stage number 2.
Well, he was on Strunk. He was right there, and I think he just salivated, and then that caused a little bit of moisture, and that moisture took him out.
Also, because we're coming so close to the end of stage number 2, well, guess what? Jeffrey Sousa's getting ready to go another lap down. How hard does Sousa want to fight to stay on the at least one lap down here so he can get on the lead lap after this stage caution? This could be whether Sousa finishes, has a chance to win this race or not.
If I'm Gitter, I take him out. The way I look at it is, if you don't put him another lap down, he could actually come back and win this thing. So, no mercy. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you put him a lap down, that takes out one of your competition, and that's
absolutely
that's the key to this. You want to keep that guy a lap down so he does not have a chance. But I don't know. It's coming down to the wire here. I think Sousa has an opportunity here to stay one lap down and get a lap back here. And I almost feel like this might be even a favor that Patrick Gitter's paying to the 14 here. It doesn't seem like he's really trying to charge him. And it looks like Patrick Gitter is going to win stage number 2. Yellow flag is out for the second time. Matt DeCiani in second place. Miller Bonds third. Chris Johnson fourth. Shane Parrish fifth. Randy Mullins in sixth. Brandon Pasalakwa seventh. Josh Schaffner eighth. Ninth, Brian Johnson. Good recovery from him. 10th, Ryan Strunk. And with that, we'll go ahead and take another step away. We'll be right back with whoever Big Al wants to talk to.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms. From camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I feel comfortable, bro. We get a hug. What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
Alrighty, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, Patrick Gitter was your Stage 2 winner. We talked to him in Stage 1. I believe Big Al is standing by with Miller Bonds, driver of the 12 machine.
Miller Bonds, Big Al up in the booth. You got me?
I sure do, bud.
Man, congratulations for bringing it home on the podium there in Stage 2. How's that Ryco Ford looking down there tonight?
And it's looking pretty good. We seem to have a little bit better long run speed than we do short run, but we're keeping it together pretty decent.
So speaking of long run, this is getting ready to be the longest run of the night so far, plus possibly going into green flag pit stops. Have you guys been able to practice that tonight, or are you going to be kind of winging it?
Yeah, we've practiced some green flag pit stops all week. I think that's going to be a big deal. Tire saving is going to be a big deal. And then not getting caught behind anybody, that's going to be a huge deal as well. But, yeah, pit stops are going to be big, and I think we're going to see them here, green flag pit stops, that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting pretty excited about it. You guys definitely have a strong car tonight. How long did it take you guys to get that thing dialed in this week?
Yeah, we've spent some time on it. You know, I think this is the first time we've finished podium here in ISCA, and we're having a great time racing this league, and Kenny does a great job and having a great time. But, yeah, spent a lot of time in the car this week, but good time tonight.
All right, man. I'm going to let you get back at it here before we let you go. Who you shouting out there for your podium finish in stage 2?
Yeah, let me shout my my wife out, Brandon, my daughter, MJ, and then Turn 3 Cattle for being on the car.
All right, boss. We'll let you get back at it. Good luck to you, and hopefully we'll see you at the end of this thing.
Thanks, bud.
Alrighty, that was Miller Bonds, driver of the 12 machine. Definitely fantastic run here tonight, and I think he might have the speed to get this thing done. And it'd be nice to see a first-time winner tonight, Big Al, especially at such an illustrious track, one of the crown jewels of NASCAR.
Well, the thing right here is going to be, it's going to be patience, Brian. As the sun goes down, so will your chances if you are impatient, because this track, she's called the Lady in Black. The track too tough to tame for a reason, and she will live up to her name. And I think we're not done seeing guys bashing their chances here tonight.
Yeah, and you can clearly see as well that it is starting to, the sun is starting to go down. So I think that's going to cause quite a bit of changes to the handling of these race cars. So, you know, even Patrick Gitter said he wasn't sure on what this, what it was going to look like, what changes they need to make. Did anyone make changes on that pit stop? I think that might have been one of the last chances for them, too, under yellow. As we see the pace car dips down pit road, as we start stage number 3, over 100 laps we're going to have to take here as we're coming up close to the halfway point. As here we go, green flag, back out in the air, Patrick Gitter. Very good restart, able to, I do believe, secure that lead. Matt DeCiani is going to hold on to second. Very good start, though, for Chris Johnson. I think he might have just taken third away. Now, we know he was really good on the short run. Did he learn any lessons to try to help his long run?
Yeah, the key is going to be right now just seeing how these guys are going to settle in for this being the longest run of the evening. Are you aggressive, or do you kind of lay back? Because, you know, you don't have a whole lot of tires left down there in the pit, so you want to try to make this, kind of want to split this one kind of in the middle and then save that last set there just in case there is this kind of shootout towards the end. Don't know how that'll look, but it's just a matter of time, I think, before we start to sprinkle this, spread it out again, kind of like it's been the entirety of the race.
Yeah, I would assume if this stays green like I think it will, I think the time to pit is going to be about 160 to 165. Somewhere in there is going to be where you're going to want to split that in half. Now, some drivers might go a little bit longer. Now, keep in mind the fuel window is 75 laps, but we did see a lot of drivers were struggling in that 40-plus lap range. So, I don't know. I mean, this is going to be tough. Because of how big the fall-off is, do we even see some drivers maybe try to do a different strategy instead of a one-stop, a two-stop? Could be the case.
Yeah, but well, some of these guys might actually have a little trick up their sleeve, Brian, and they might actually have their cars set up for the longer run, you know. So that's why you see the cars kind of go away there in the middle. But once you get over the hump, generally they kind of get to a point where not only they're manageable, they're actually fun to drive. So I think that's what we're looking for in this stage.
Saw a little bit of a bump there. Chris Johnson gets into the rear end of the one of Matt DeCiani. I think Chris Johnson says you need to go faster, buddy. And also Miller Bonds getting incredibly close as well. As here comes Johnson, tries to get to the inside of Matt DeCiani, not able to get there. And here comes Miller Bonds. Bonds about to make a move too. I think this could be maybe a sign of some drama here.
Well, nobody wants to lift. Nobody wants to lose their momentum, and that's exactly what you're seeing right there. So, like I said, you might see drivers driving it in there just a little bit harder than the guy in front of them. So it's going to look a little sporty.
And you're seeing they're packed in here like sardines in the top 5. Chris Johnson almost wrecking Matt DeCiani. You could just tell. I think you could tell that Gitter and DeCiani are trying to set their own pace. They're not trying to really necessarily pull away. They're like, hey, we want to save tire here. And here comes Randy Mullins. Big shoot to the inside of Miller Bonds. He's going to move up to 4th.
Yeah, halfway through this thing, Miller Bonds there found himself just kind of maybe missed up just a little bit, and that allowed Randy Mullins to capitalize and gain a spot. But I don't think we're done with the shuffling just yet. Matt DeCiani also loses the spot there on that last lap.
I think these guys are doing it on purpose. I don't think they're necessarily, making mistakes. I think they're just like, this guy wants to get by me so bad, I'm going to let him go. I know I have a good long run car. I mean, we saw Chris Johnson when he took the lead earlier in this race. It did not last long. I think he's making the same mistake he made earlier. And I think DeCiani's like going ahead. And I think Miller Bonds was thinking the same thing with Randy Mullins. He was like, Miller Bonds, we know, has probably one of the best long-run cars here tonight, right? I mean, so why would he want to battle with Randy Mullins when he knows in about 20 laps he's going to be past him?
And I'm also wondering, where is thou Brandon? Brandon, where art thou Brandon? I was expecting to see him up front battling a little bit more in that top 3 for tonight, but he's just been kind of hanging out back there with Josh Schaffner. So that's another group of guys that are really deeply vested in this championship points saga.
Oh, of course, Brandon Pasalacqua, he's regular season champion, 3rd in the playoffs right now. I think these guys, to be honest, I think Schaffner and Pasalacqua are not looking for a stellar day. I just don't think that they're really here to win. I think they're just like, hey, let's have a good day. Let's have a good day.
I hope you go back. I seriously hope you go back and rewatch the broadcast. You just said that somebody didn't come here wanting to win.
I'm just saying, a lot of drivers, especially playoff time, you want to just have a good day. Darlington is like a lot of times a track that you don't want to really, you don't want to risk it. Risk versus reward, Big Al. You end up at the bottom of the points pylon or at the bottom of the standings, or you end up in the top 10. That's a good day. I want a good day if I'm at Darlington.
I got you, but I still want to win, period. End of statement.
Well, I hear you. I'm just saying that maybe that's their thought process here. I mean, Pasalacqua's been consistent all season long. He really has not shown any sort of missteps. So, I mean, I just think that he's just calm and collected. I think him and Schaffner both are in the same kind of mindset here, just to kind of chill it out.
Yeah, I hope that is the case. I don't know. I mean, he is running the fastest laps on the racetrack right now. So maybe that is the case. I don't think it's from a lack of speed. I was just saying that these guys also need to kind of, this is a big race for playoff point implications for everybody.
And here we go, side by side for the lead.
Johnson and Gitter going at it again.
Yeah, I think Patrick Gitter, I don't think Gitter should fight Chris Johnson too hard. I think he knows that Chris did this before. He took the lead before, but was not able to maintain it.
Well, I think Johnson is out there, and I think this is a team play. I think he's out there kind of chasing Gitter down for the good of G&G. If Gitter just comes out here and has a great day and nobody puts any pressure on him, I don't think that does anybody any good other than that team, other than the EPI guys,
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I feel like I think Chris Johnson's got a really good race car underneath him. I think what he needs to do is just hang out. Just stay behind. I would not be challenging for the lead or pushing my tires too much, because this is just a track that will punish you for that. And I think that Chris Johnson's making the same mistake he did in stage 2, where if he probably is going to get by Gitter, but it's not going to last. And that's what you want. Even though, keep him honest, but Gitter's going to have the last laugh because he saved his tires. I'm all about having the last lap. I want to win at Darlington. I don't want to be like, oh, yeah, you led some laps, but then you fell off and you fell to the back, or you fell to outside of the top 5. You know what I mean? I want to win. If you want to go for the win, this is a track you got to be smart about it. This is not a track where you're just going to brute force speed your way to a win.
Woo! Miller Bonds makes his way around Randy Mullins now. He's back up in the 4th place.
Yeah, we kind of figured this was going to be the case. Very good long run speed in the 12 machine in Miller Bonds. He gets by Randy Mullins. Also, Brian Johnson. He's back in the fray as well. Had a really good speed earlier as well. I do suspect he's going to be up in the battle. I'm surprised Shane Parrish. We saw how good a recovery Shane Parrish had in Stage 2. He's back there in 11th right now. I'm just shocked that he's not having a better day.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of guys that are wishing they would be having better days. But look, we still got a lot of racing left to go in this thing.
And here we go, battle for second. Underway is Matt DeCiani trying to get something done on Chris Johnson. We definitely have a long way to go. And this is setting up Miller Bonds. Bonds gets up to the rear of the 1, almost touches him. I ain't never seen bump drafting at Darlington, but I think we might see it here tonight.
I think he did touch him. I think he gave him the bump that he needed to secure that position. Because right now, these guys are doing just that, man. They're fully locked on and battling. And if you look at it from where we're at, just in the perspective of how the stages have played out, we're not spread out like we were through stages 1 and 2. Like right now, this field is really it's together like sticky rice instead of that Mahatma.
Yeah, for sure. Taking a look on the gyro camera here of Miller Bonds. And this just shows you the banking at Darlington. Not a flat track in the slightest. As you can see, just very much a lot of banking here. Surprised the lap times right now, too, have fallen off quite substantially. As I do believe we still have about 30 or so laps until we'll probably see green flag stops. Love these camera views, though. But you can, one thing this camera view is showing, though, is you can see that orange glow, Big Al. You know what that means, sunset.
Because when the sun goes down, we'll be grooving when the sun goes down. Well, Big Al karaoke. We hadn't done that in a while.
Have not. And that's perfect for some South Carolina right there.
I don't do South Carolina.
Oh, look at that. Miller Bonds getting crazy close to the side of the 99. As they are battling. This could end up with some drama. As you can see, the 99 not making it easy. And this could end up badly. I think you could tell how much this is slowing up. The rest, this is an accordion. I think we might end up having a problem here, Big Al.
Why do you think that?
I'm just saying, we see the top 2 drivers are pulling away right now. And it seems like Chris Johnson does not want to let Miller Bonds by. So I think we're possibly going to see maybe some button to some heads at the moment here at Darlington.
We talked about patience, and we said that it was going to start to wane. Because this is a very long race on a very narrow, one lane, one groove kind of racetrack. So I think we got a little room left here for some drama.
I think the lights are getting ready to come on here at Darlington. And Miller Bonds, I know he said this is pretty much the best run that he has had all season. He even said it in his interview. And I think he wants to get this podium. He wants to get that interview at the end of this race. And he's got a 99 that is in the way of him getting that interview. And they're also catching back up to Matt DeCiani. Here comes Bonds again to the inside. Into 3 and 4. He's going to slide up. I think he's going to get the pass. And Miller Bonds up to 3rd. Randy Mullins going to try to take advantage.
Yeah, and Brian Johnson definitely Chris Johnson definitely giving a little love tug there.
Yeah, I don't know if he he must not have liked the way he was being raced there. I thought it was fairly clean racing.
Yeah, we got a long way to go, but I'm loving the racemanship. Everybody right now it's been an awesome race, man. So kudos to these guys. Thank you for everybody that's tuning in here. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the ISCA, so that way we can kind of keep bringing you spectacular spectacles such as the one that you're beholding right now.
No, yeah, I mean this race has been completely green. It hasn't been clean. I will say it hasn't been clean. Only cautions we've had have been based on stage breaks, but we haven't had a caution based on an accident yet, which is kind of the opposite of what we've seen in the A Open. I mean, I know I've been talking to a lot of drivers this week, and they've been seeing cautions after cautions, so it's kind of spectacular to say that we're going 137 laps so far and have not had a wreck that has caused a caution. Now, of course, that still could happen.
That's the status quo, though. In the ISCA, you're going to get longer green flag runs. I mean, that's kind of what this league prides itself on. And if you're just out there in the old day open, well, that's why they call it the A Open. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is a different beast for sure. The ISCA always known for very clean driving. A lot of the best of the best, race out here in the ISCA. We've seen a lot of drivers that have, maybe not pros, but they're pretty much a step below pro. A lot of these drivers are very, very talented. And always race clean as well. And that's the big thing that's so different about the officials versus this, as we're starting to see a little bit of some guys getting stacked up. Here comes Brian Johnson. He makes the pass on Randy Mullins and moves up to 5th.
Yeah, it looks like the lights are on in full effect here. Track tip's going to be settling in now, somewhere around 84 degrees. Only car that we got to start at this thing that's not with us right now is Darren Mullins. Looks like we still have 19 of the 20 cars that started the contest with us. Out of that, there appears to be 16 cars that are still on the lead lap. Just 90 laps to go in this thing before it is official.
Fuel window is going to be opening up in about 15 laps, give or take. So, and what's really impressive about this, Big Al, the 16 cars that are on the lead lap right now, they only have about 7 seconds in between the first place and the leader. So it really just shows, or should I say first place and 16th place, it really shows how close everybody is on speed here, which is saying something about Darlington. This is a track that's very difficult, and just shows that all these guys came in here prepared.
Yeah, does not look at all like the first two stages. First two stages, we were really spread out. The from the leader to the last place car. I mean, it was just lap traffic and everything in between. But as we have got into this, and this the longest green flag run that we've had here, like you said, running right into green flag pit stops, everybody is kind of keeping it pretty tight. Biggest gap that we got right now is going to be between 10th place Greg Wachinski and 11th place Shane Parrish.
Liking what I'm seeing right now from Brandon Pasalacqua. He's turning the fastest laps on the racetrack right now. And you kind of mentioned that, I think, earlier. I think that he has been not playing his full hand here. I think he's been playing with these guys. I think that car has been set up for when it gets darker. And I think that it's starting to come to him now.
I mean, you got to understand the conditions of the track when the checker flag is waved. I mean, and if you're setting up a car, you start at that point and then you reverse plan it. And I think that's exactly what those guys did.
Yeah, I mean, he is right on the back end of Randy Mullins. I think he's going to be moving up to the top 5 here momentarily. You can tell he's really loose out of the corner, so I'll tell you that.
Loose? Is that what you call that? He was sideways.
And that's the thing about it, too, is when the track starts to cool down, it does get a little bit more grippy, and that could make it looser.
Well, couldn't say that on this broadcast.
And look at that. I like what Brian Johnson, he's looking fast right now, too. He's
Yeah, he
all
also
over
looked
Miller
a little-
Bonds right now.
He looked a little scary there going into that last turn. Seemed like he was trying to scrape that 4 off the side of that car.
The lap times have fallen off almost a second as we're coming up very close to what could be green flag pit stops.
Go Bonds, though. I mean, I'm just going to keep saying that because that's but we do have a good, strong show of the Mustangs here tonight, Brian.
Yeah, I'm sure you're loving that. And I'm surprised we're not seeing that good, strong showing from Shane Parrish. I mean, he's still back in 11th place. He has not moved forward. I thought he would have the better long run. And he did earlier in the race, but something maybe about the temperature is not helping him out. I'm seeing a lot of drivers getting loose, though. A lot of drivers are starting to struggle, and I think the track conditions are to blame. We saw Miller Bonds just get loose out of turn 2.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have been on these tires for a little bit now. 40 laps on the equipment, probably running a lot harder than they did in the first 2 stages. So you couple that with the fact that it's cooler also.
Yeah, I think that's definitely to blame. Seeing a lot of drivers, though, I think, losing a lot more pace. You see Frank Flores, I do believe, coming off pit road now.
Flores seems to be struggling here tonight. He's definitely going to be signing out that third F, I do believe, after this thing's over.
Yeah, for sure. And he was fast in practice, which is kind of shocking. I think, a lot of times we can go to a different racetrack and we can say, okay, this guy's fast in practice. He's probably going to run good in the race. But this track's not like that. You have to be able to hit consistent laps. That's going to be the key at a track like this. And I think that we're seeing that for sure. And like you mentioned before, still a lot closer than I kind of suspected it would be. First to ninth, separated by 3 seconds right now. So, still anybody's race. I think DeCiani could easily win this race. Miller Bonds could win this race. Brian Johnson not out of it yet. I am starting to see a little bit of struggle, though, from Brian. But I think a lot of drivers are kind of in the same boat. They're all just who could drive the car the best when it's at its worst. I think that's pretty much what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, we still got a long way to go, and these guys are definitely still sizing each other up. Because right now, they're sitting at the high end of their lap count, and some of them are definitely going to want their cars to showcase, the amount of time they put into their setups this week, because this is the time now where that setup's going to start to shine here, Brian.
Yeah, and also the driver themselves is going to shine. I mean, the setup is, that's very, very important at this stage of the race, how long, that setup lasts underneath you, but also the driver as well. It is so easy to make a mistake here, especially when your tires are so worn. I mean, look at how close Patrick Gitter runs against the wall in turn, 1 and 2. So easy to make a mistake and hit that wall. And on iRacing, anytime you hit the wall, a lot of times it's like a magnet. It's very hard to get off of it. It slows you down. So, that all it takes is one scrape of that wall, and Patrick Gitter's not the leader anymore.
Yeah, but look at the distance between first place and ninth place. I mean, these guys are they're flying like geese in a formation. I mean, not a lot of spread there. Everybody's still tight. 54 gets a little loose. But we didn't see it like this in the first couple of stages of the race.
And I think the temperature's got something to do with that, too, because I think that the cars are coming to the best handling they've had all race. Of course, not the tires are not, but I'd say that the temperature of the racetrack itself is giving these guys a lot more grip than they had earlier. And so I think a lot of these drivers are, and they've also had more time. Seat time, Big Al. I mean, a track like this, seat time is incredibly important. You need to know how to hit your marks around this place. And if you've done 150 laps, that's a lot of, going to school, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how many laps you put in prior to the event, but we know how many you put in during the event tonight.
Exactly.
And that, my friend, is key.
It is. It very much is. We're coming up now 155 laps into the show. I think they're going to be pitting into probably the next 10 or 15 laps.
Yeah, 10 or 15, but I think some of these guys are going to want to go longer. I would go longer now. This would be the longest run that I would do. Fuel window is open now, 74 laps ago. That is at the fuel window, but I would want to get it back down to, say, 45 laps because, you know, if you truly have done your work, you know what that setup looks like.
Looks like Kenny Powell, once again, I think, coming off of pit road. So it has just been a bad night for that 24. I do believe we saw
Green flag pit stop.
Yeah, somebody just went down pit road.
Miller Bonds is the first one to break the seal, if you will.
And that is, I do believe, 49 laps into his stint. So interesting decision. He came. This is really early, and but based on his interview, he feels really confident with the long run speed of his car. So this could be a really good decision for him to possibly jump out front and just try to stay out there.
Yeah, for 70 plus laps.
I mean, if he's got as good of a long run setup as he thinks he does, I mean, it could work. But then again, by that 70 lap mark, he's going to be probably hating life.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with that. He has put himself in that position as a 23 car of John Binder finds himself coming down pit road. That's that old sun drop machine, Brian.
And that's a classic here.
The down home taste that picks you up.
That's a classic one for Darlington too. I mean, that's right around this area that the old Sundrop car running at Myrtle Beach, Florence Speedway. Patrick Gitter still out front, coming up to 160. As we are getting closer and closer to the end of this thing. Still a long way to go, though, as we have, I do believe, just over 160 laps.
Shane Parrish makes his way around Brandon Pasalacqua. Pasalacqua not even going to defend that position. Parrish now finds himself up into sixth place. Next car he's going to be wanting to dance with is going to be none other than the 54, Randy Mullins.
Yeah, it looks like I think Pasalacqua is really starting to struggle. I thought he had a better long run than he does, but it looks like he just let the 77 go. I think he's going to let possibly Josh Schaffner go as well. But Parrish is starting to really come on strong. Now, I was wondering, I was like, what happened to the 66? But he's looking incredibly fast on the longer run. He's very much catching up to the top five now. He was in 11th about 15 laps ago. And now he's banging on the back door of the top five. So you can tell that he has been really saving his equipment, and I think it's really helping out. I mean, speed-wise, he's running really good. I mean, look at this, catching up quickly to the back end of Randy Mullins. Oh, they got really close to having some contact. Luckily, they did not, as Shane Parrish shoots himself up to fifth.
Well, you got to understand, too, this is the longest stint that these guys have run on their equipment thus far tonight. So, it's not like point and shoot. It's kind of like point, drift, and kind of mark.
A lot of drivers going to be definitely considering coming down now. Patrick Gitter he is out to now a second lead. Josh Schaffner starting to make moves now. Comes up to Ryan Strunk. He's going to try to work his way up to seventh. Of course, you see John Binder. He came out of pit road. He's going to have a fast race car now. He's 2 laps down. If the caution were to come out now, though, Miller Bonds would be the lucky dog, as he is only 1 lap down. Of course, Patrick Gitter, though, very soon going to be putting Jeffrey Souza a lap down. 14 of Souza very much has struggled all race long. And did not expect that. I expected Souza, I mean, he's very good at tinkering on race cars himself. Thought that he would have that car really worked out well. Of course, we now have 14 drivers on the lead lap. And Patrick Gitter has led a lot of laps here tonight. Has really been putting together a fantastic race, and what a statement this would make to the rest of the playoff field. He's already won 6 races this season. For him to go and win race number 7 would be big. And now keep in mind, Patrick Gitter did not run all of the races this season as well, Big Al. I mean, Brandon Pasolaco was the regular season champion because he pretty much ran the majority of the races. Patrick Gitter came in a few months late into the season and still was able to make the playoffs, and has won 6 races and possibly 7 here tonight.
Yeah, but in Brandon's defense, though, he kind of missed a couple races too, though.
Not
Brandon
as many as Patrick did, that's for sure.
Yeah, I got you. But Brandon, remember, we were putting him on milk cartons.
Yeah, that's true. I do remember that, yeah.
Now, Jeffrey Sousa finds himself in the hot seat again. This is about the time where he was. Now you got to make that decision. Do you go a lap down, or do you go ahead and bring it down pit road, Brian?
Yeah, he's going to go a lap down here. Patrick Gitter now gets by him. Now this takes that lucky dog spot from Miller Bonds. If a caution were to come out and Miller Bonds wants to get his lap back, he's going to have to stay out. See Frank Flores coming up to Kenny Powell. Almost some contact there. This has definitely turned into a strategy race.
Greg Watinsky now meanders down pit road. Green flag pit stop's totally and completely underway right now. You're going to start to see
taking some different,
come down.
A lot of different strategies playing out too. I mean, it seems like no one really coming down at the same time.
Well, right now we're splitting that hair directly down the middle, so guys are going to feel more comfortable to come down now because you know exactly what you're going to end up with. Your car is not going to be any worse than it is right now. So I think the longer you stay out now, the better you're going to be and the stronger you're going to be for the long run.
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much have split it up in half. So I think a lot of drivers are very much considering now is the time to come down pit road. I think the floodgates are getting ready to break. As we can see, John Binder still steadily working his way forward.
J.C. Evans comes down pit road now.
So that's
we'll be monitoring these guys as they start to come down, just to kind of get an idea. Josh Sofner, the Iceman himself. Brandon Pasolaco. So, yeah, safe to assume green flag pit stops alive and underway. Drivers are going to be coming down now, getting themselves, what are we doing? 4 tires and Sunoco racing fuel. The full Monty here tonight.
Also, yeah, I think you'd be dumb not to take 4 tires at this racetrack.
Oh, yeah, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. We're going to be wondering how Miller Bond's strategy is going to play out because remember, he came in, a long time ago, the 99 of Chris Johnson down pit road.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be curious to see how Miller Bonds' strategy plays out. I just don't. I think right now he's going to gain a lot of spots, and I think by the time everybody comes down pit road, he's going to be the leader. Yes, I think he will be. But it's not going to last because those guys, they're going to be on 20-lap newer tires than him at the end of this race. So I just don't know how that's going to play out. We saw Randy Mullins as well. I think he just said something about him coming down pit road. So a lot of drivers are deciding to come to pit road now. Here comes Matt DeCiani. Patrick Gitter has elected to stay out. Shane Parrish as well.
Brian Johnson, pit road.
Yep, Brian Johnson's coming to pit road. Such a tricky pit road as well. I mean, you have to pretty much start slowing down in turn 3. I mean, the apron's quite large here to get on pit road, so you'd think there's a lot of room for error. But there's not really a lot of room at all. It's very easy to spin the car out as well coming onto this pit road.
Yep, Kevin Zosiak, pit road. 66 Shane Parrish, pit road.
So far, so good for pit stops. So we haven't seen a whole lot of guys make a ton of mistakes. This is one of those tracks you really want to practice pit road. You don't want to make any mistakes when you're doing your pit stops.
Leader pit road.
So here comes Patrick Gitter, our leader, and I think Ryan Strunk's still out. Does Ryan Strunk decide to come down?
I think at this point, when the leader comes, I think you got to come now or within 2 laps of this.
And I think Ryan Strunk has elected to stay out. He's going to be in the lead. If the caution was to come out, this would very, very much be a good decision for the 77. As, he's going to be locked. If a caution came out now, it would lock a lot of drivers a lap down. But it looks like I do believe Strunk's still staying out.
Oh, the 54 just got really loose there. He pedaled through it, but I'm not sure how that worked out.
And it is pretty much completely dark outside as well at the moment. So we have raced into the night. And you talk about guys getting loose. Keep in mind, I mean, it's cold out here, or it's cooler, I should say. And they're on cold tires. When you drive at a track like Darlington, at the end of the run, when you're 60-something laps on the tires, it handles so different than it does on the cold tires. So these guys are probably a little bit more out of their element. They got used to how the cold tire or the old tires were wearing, how they were, running.
Yep. Ryan Strunk. The 84, Cody Colley. Frank Flores, pit road.
So I think that's going to put Miller Bonds up in the lead. And Miller Bonds, at the moment, I do believe, has about 7 seconds back to Patrick Gitter. Now, that is going to, I think, go away quite quickly, considering, like I said, there are about 20 laps difference on tires right now. And Patrick Gitter, even though he waited so long to pit, he still came out in a fairly good position. He really did not lose any spots, except for Miller Bonds.
Yep. Jeffrey Souza, pit road. Souza going to be the last car on the lead lap. That's going to mean we're going to have, I believe, 14 cars on the lead lap.
I'm showing, I do believe, 13.
Nope, 13. Cody Colley is the last car on the lead lap.
See, Miller Bonds has caught up to Cody Colley. Going to be trying to see if he can't possibly put him a lap down. I think Colley is on a little bit fresher tires at the moment, though. We'll have to wait and see how this all plays out. A lap 180, though. Less than now 50 laps to go as Miller Bonds leads it. He is being held up, though, by Cody Colley. Now, this is not a bad or good thing for him, considering Patrick Gitter is only just a little over 5 seconds back and gaining. This has definitely turned into very much a strategy race. Let's do a quick rundown through the top 10. Miller Bonds, of course, your leader at the moment. Patrick Gitter's in second place. Matt DeCiani's in third. Josh Schaffner fourth. Shane Parrish is in fifth. Brian Johnson sixth. Brandon Pasalak was in seventh. Chris Johnson eighth. Randy Mullins is in ninth. And Greg Wachinski rounds out the top 10. You can see
we'll go ahead and run through there, man. We'll go ahead and run through it a little bit more. Ryan Strunk's at 11th with John Binder, 12th. Cody Colley, 13th. Now J.C. Evans finds himself 1 lap down in 14th. Kevin Zosiak 1 lap down in 15th. Then Jeffrey Souza 4 laps down, 16th. Frank Flores some 10 laps down in 17th. Kenny Powell 21 laps down in 18th. Randy Belk 144 laps down in 19th. That's a little bit longer than a mid-race rundown, but yeah, that's about a 3/4 race rundown.
Yeah, we're definitely getting closer and closer to the end of this thing. We're going to be doing the final rundown here momentarily. As we're seeing big battling, though, Brian Johnson and Shane Parrish fighting for, I do believe, the 5th spot right now, as here comes Johnson to the inside, as well as Randy Mullins to the inside of Chris Johnson. It looks like Brian Johnson, I think, is going to be able to make the pass stick. He moves up to the 5th spot. Randy Mullins gets a little bit loose out of turn number 4. So the battling has started to happen here. And this battling we're seeing right now is going to probably impact the final results. Here comes Chris Johnson. He's going to try to see if he can't possibly get by the 66. Now, of course, Shane Parrish, he is a lot better on the longer run, so it seems like he just is maybe sacrificing the short run speed for that longer run, but it seems like, I don't know if he's going to want to save. I think he's going a little overboard when it comes to saving.
You know, I don't know if he's really got a choice. I think right now he's driving as best as he can with what he's got. But looks like Chris Johnson's going to go ahead and try to make that move on the inside. And it's just a matter of time. I mean, right now he's just opened up the floodgates. There goes Randy Mullins. Also, here comes Brandon Pasalacqua. Oh, Pasalacqua and Mullins make Shane Parrish and Mullins make a lot of contact there.
Yeah, Pasalacqua not able to make the pass stick. He's going to try to see if he can't get that done now, with Shane Parrish definitely trying to stem the bleeding. Looks like Pasalacqua does get the pass completed. He moves up into the 8th place position. Patrick Gitter still 5 seconds back from Miller Bonds. I'm surprised at how I thought Patrick Gitter was going to be catching Miller Bonds a lot quicker. So it's kind of surprising to say the least. I think Miller Bonds has been really saving tire. I don't think he's really been pushing it. And he did say he had a very good long run setup. I think it's going to possibly come down to the wire. If Bonds can maintain a couple seconds of a lead, he could possibly win this race. And wouldn't that be something to see the 12 get his first win in ISCA competition? I mean, we talked to him earlier. He's like, this is going to be possibly my first podium. What if it's his first win? That would be a crazy day. But this is going to be close. So just considering, I mean, you're seeing now Patrick Gitter starting to show more speed. And who's to say we don't see possibly a late race caution? These guys are going to continue to, I think their patience is starting to wane. Their focus as well. I mean, this is a track that takes a lot of focus, that if you lose that focus for even just a moment, you're into the outside wall. And, you know, very easy for that to happen here. I mean, these guys have almost now 200 laps under their belt. 190 now on the board. See Randy Mullins starting to put some pressure on Chris Johnson. Randy Mullins definitely showing some really good speed here late in the race. Seems like that car very much built for when the sun goes down. Of course, Patrick Gitter now 4.2 seconds behind Miller Bonds. The race, pretty much closest race on the racetrack, is between Chris Johnson right now and Randy Mullins.
Yeah, and Chris Johnson's right behind little brother Brian Johnson. So that means Mullins, whose father got taken out a little bit earlier today. I mean, there it is right there. That's the perfect country western sequel.
The Hatfield versus the McCoys right here.
$37 laps to go. Miller Bonds, your leader. Patrick Gitter slowly chipping away at that. That lead now down to 3.3 seconds. Also, keep in mind Miller Bonds is going to be on some slightly older equipment. Now he is definitely wrestling with slower traffic. Got the 84 Cody Colley right in front of him that he's having to contend with.
Yeah, he's been behind Cody Colley for quite some time, and I've been surprised at the speed that Colley's been showing. Of course, he's also got Frank Flores not far behind him. Now, of course, I think Frank would probably get out of the way of Patrick Gitter, considering they do have similar allegiances to the EPI kind of team. So I would assume Frank's probably going to try to get out of the way, as Flores is also 11 laps down. But Miller Bonds, 2.6 seconds right now. You're really starting to see the fall off that's happening. Let's look at the lap times. As we take a look at lap times, Miller Bonds last time by 30.260 versus Patrick Gitter 29.8. That is a half a second of speed difference right there. That is monumental.
Indeed.
Half a second a lap is that's big. I mean that I would assume Gitter very soon is going to be on the back end of Miller Bonds. So Bonds really needs a caution right now, to be honest. He needs something to kind of stop Patrick Gitter in his tracks.
Man, Schaffner doing everything he needs to do. Now he is all the way up to 4th place. Feeling pretty good about the performance and speed that 5-0 car does have, or 50 car. Sorry,
yeah, and I got to say, I'm very impressed with Josh Schaffner. I did not expect him to be up here in 4th place right now. I think, looking at lap times, though, I think he's starting to struggle. I think he might have made a strategy call to stay, to go in a little bit earlier than a lot of the other drivers. But right now, he's in 4th. We haven't really talked about the Iceman very much tonight. But I think eventually he's going to get caught by Brian Johnson. Just looking at lap times, let's see what Schaffner's this lap time is. Actually, not bad. I think that was actually a pretty good lap for Schaffner. I think that he had a little bit of a misstep on that last lap. But this is curious. I mean, to see the 50 of Schaffner not really be in the conversation this race, and now he's up in the top 5. I mean, it's really stellar day for him. I mean, a quiet day, and sometimes Darlington, that's what you want, a quiet day.
Yep. Sometimes you just want to go where, everybody knows your name.
Oh, my word. We watching Cheers tonight?
I guess.
Sometimes you want to go. As we're now coming up to 30 laps to go. Miller Bonds getting ready to get past momentarily, as he's now got about a half a second back to Patrick Gitter. I don't think he's going to have much choice in the matter here. But what a very good effort, though, for Miller Bonds.
He could always take the path of the Buffalo.
Take the path of wrecking him. I don't think so. I don't think Miller Bonds is going to do that. I hope not, at least, but I think Miller Bonds is just hoping that he can stay up on the podium. I don't think he should. I think he is regretting the decision to pit as early as he did. I think if he had waited another 10 laps, he might have been in a little bit better of a position here.
Well, that's why they call them strategies, Brian.
You got to run all the laps.
You got to give them a chance to play out.
That you do. Patrick Gitter back up to the lead. Patrick Gitter won stage 1, stage 2, and is now back up to the front here towards the end of the race. We have less than 30 laps to go. I was getting ready to add some more laps to the race there.
Yep.
Chris Johnson and Brian Johnson fairly close to one another. Only separated by about a half a second. They're showing very similar pace. Seeing Randy Mullins, he just got by J.C. Evans. And, of course, that was not for position. You see Jeffrey Sousa getting loose off of turn 4 there.
Sousa's had his hands full all night tonight.
He has. He very much has. Now 6 laps down as well, of course. And at the end of stage 2, I think he had got the lap back. But now he is 6 laps down. Pretty much his chances of winning this race have gone to 0.
You know, sometimes it's weird when you come to a track like Darlington and you realize truly how technical it is when you see guys like Brandon Pasalacqua and Shane Parrish struggling. I mean, here we are with just 25 laps to go, and Brandon Pasalacqua is back in 9th place. You know, usually he'd be up front, you know, just smoking a cigarette, you know, raising his kids, having a great time. But tonight, you know, truly looks like he's piloting the Titanic.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like a lot of these guys are outside of their comfort zone. You really don't get comfortable with a track like Darlington. It's technical. It very much is. I mean, it's a track too tough to tame. Not a lot of people have conquered it. It takes the greats like David Pierce, David Pearson, Dale Earnhardt. Those are the guys that have won the most at a track like Darlington, and they are just the greatest of all time, type people. I mean, you can even see, I'd say Patrick Gitter is struggling somewhat. I mean, I saw him hit the wall a couple times here in the last couple laps. So, I mean, anything still could happen. I think that Gitter is focused. He's got to be tired. All these drivers have got to be tired, to be honest. And being tired at a track that requires so much of you is, it's incredibly difficult. I mean, this is a 300-mile race. The real-life race is 500 miles. So, I mean, you got to do, 3/5 or 2/3 of the real-life length. That's not easy. NASCAR drivers are in shape, and they work out and prepare for these races. Some of these guys might not be quite as much as in shape.
No. There's my flag. There's the flag. I just had to throw it.
Oh,
they don't work. Tony Stewart has never worked out a day in his life. Come on.
I'm just saying a lot of those drivers are. It gets hot.
Jimmy Spencer.
That's true. Dang, you're just pulling out all the.
Jimmy Spencer is not.
Well, I'm just saying it. NASCAR drivers today are pretty in shape.
Yeah, I mean, they look like horse jockeys, to be honest. I mean, you can't.
Jimmy Spencer was big. He was a large lad.
Yeah. But you look at some of these guys today, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, you want to say, like I said, they look like horse jockeys.
I think they're still somewhat athletic. I mean, to be in a car that's 130 degrees inside of the race car, that's athlete.
I'm not saying that they're not athletic. I'm just saying that Noah Gragson's mullet weighs more than some of the drivers that are in Cup cars. His mullet sweat. How about that? Noah Gragson's mullet sweat weighs more than some of the drivers that are in Cup cars.
Well, here we are.
20 laps to go before we get this one in the books. Patrick Gitter still out front here leading this thing. Matt DeCiani is definitely finding his legs as he is currently in second. And Miller Bonds, man, taking a long strategy there and trying to make it work out in his favor. A lot of drivers come out here tonight, Brian, and I think they had different ideas about how this thing was going to play out. But sometimes you just kind of got to get in the pen with the bull, and tonight it looks like the bull won.
Yeah, I mean, Darlington always wins, I'll tell you that. But Patrick Gitter, he's been the one that he started from the pole. I mean, he's dominated this race, and you usually don't dominate very easily at a track like Darlington. I think Josh Schaffner might have a chance for a podium here. If he can catch up to Miller Bonds, he's got about 3 seconds separating these two drivers. Looking at lap times here, I think I'm seeing, look at the lap time difference, about a half a second between Miller Bonds and Schaffner. So I think Schaffner, if he keeps on this speed, he possibly could get a podium. And we just have not talked about Schaffner that much tonight, and imagine that, getting to interview him at the end of this race. Unless possibly Brian Johnson, though. I mean, Brian Johnson's very close as well.
And Shane Parrish. Brian Johnson and Shane Parrish are definitely They're putting the screws to it right now. As we're coming down to the end of this thing, a lot of drivers starting to fill themselves out.
Yeah, it's definitely coming down to the wire very soon here. Patrick Gitter, though, I'd say he's in a fairly calm place, not having to worry about too much right now.
Yeah, that's been the story of the night for that team, as well as last Thursday night as well, Brian.
I mean, he's just had a really fantastic season. I just don't think you can't take it away from him. He's just ran really, really, really good.
And sometimes I'll say this. Sweeping a track like New Hampshire or Darlington or Iowa, that's what you would expect, because if you figure those tracks out, you're going to be running pretty good all night. But to sweep a track like Daytona, I think that's kind of unheard of.
Oh yeah. It's also
So
unheard
many
of to sweep a track like Darlington. Very hard to do that. And yeah, but Daytona, it's almost luck to find yourself out front for all three
So many
stages.
variables that are going against you, and for this guy to sweep all 3 stages of a plate race, that's crazy.
I mean, he's just had a fantastic season. He's also had some good teammates. DeCiani, Shane Parrish. Teammates are important. Maybe not at this track quite as much, but at Daytona, it's very much important to have some sort of strategy in play.
Well, heck, he even had Kenny Powell coming back from the depths there to push him to that stage 2 win. I mean, and that was some more like shoving to a stage 2 victory. 13 laps to go. Track temps only dropped down about another degree.
We're starting to see a big battle between teammates here. Josh Schaffner and Brian Johnson. Looks like Brian Johnson moves up to the 4th position. Also Shane Parrish up to 5th.
Schaffner relinquishing what little bit of the momentum that he did have, which is kind of shocking. I thought he was going to be up there really battling it out with Miller Bonds, but instead he is kind of slip-sliding the wrong way. Shane Parrish, though, let's give it up for him, as he is now.
Oh, contact between the two. Brian Johnson, and that is going to put Schaffner back up into the top 5. And, of course, Parrish and Schaffner, I do believe Parrish and Brian Johnson had issues earlier in the race.
And I think they were trying to solve them, looks like, but
in a violent way, apparently.
Well, I mean, I think they were just kind of car talking it out. 10 laps to go.
And I think Miller Bonds, I mean, looking at this, even though he did a interesting strategy, I think he might finish 3rd here. He finished 3rd in stage 2. Started outside of the top 10. I mean, this is a good run for this 12 machine.
Yeah, too bad he's not in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's definitely too bad he's not in the playoffs. I think if he started this season early, or if he had started, ISCA earlier in the season, I think he'd have a chance at the championship. He's very consistent driver. And I think he's really starting to find his own. I think we're going to really start to see success out of this 12 machine.
Yeah, it looks like Brian Johnson and Josh Schaffner are going to be swapping positions. Johnson now going to be back up in the 5th place. Now, he is in the playoffs, and that is going to make a difference for him.
Yeah, I think Brian Johnson's probably driving angry right now. I think if he had an opportunity to get up there to that 66, I think we might have a little bit of drama on the racetrack. We might have to watch after the checkered waves.
Patrick Gitter now having a greater than 5-second lead over P2, which is Matt DeCiani.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely dominated this race thus far.
But like I said, I'd watch after the checkered waves. I would keep an eye on that because we might see some drama, some fireworks, other than the fireworks the tracks have prepared for us tonight. You know me, Big Al. I love the drama, as long as I ain't involved in it. Patrick Gitter, such a dominant day as he comes to 5 laps to go. Of course, you see Matt DeCiani dealing with lap traffic. He's got Cody Colley and Ryan Strunk. Hopefully something doesn't go wrong here for that driver.
Matt DeCiani now going to be making his way up to Ryan Strunk with 5 laps to go. Ryan Strunk, man, when those guys downloaded the car, they did have a top 10 car. And I did feel that when those guys actually, when they showed up here. And they do have a top 10 car. Just, unfortunately, the top 10, not all of the top 10 is going to finish on the lead lap.
No, 100%. I mean, he looked really good earlier in the race. I mean, Strunk had possibly even a top 5.
Greg Luchinsky, another guy that we thought actually had a rocket ship. Those guys just had their hands full tonight as well, battling adversity from inception, but actually able to bring this thing home just 1 lap down, though, in 12th place. Probably not the finish that they wanted, but looks like it's going to be the finish that they got. Gitter and DeCiani, though, never really looking back.
No, not at all. Definitely just a really good run.
Back from did start this thing in 3rd. Kind of got wrapped up with Brian Johnson a couple of times, and that caused him to actually slip out of the top 10. But now he finds himself back on the podium, looking like he is going to finish this thing in 3rd place. Miller Bond's taking a long strategy. That's not working out in his favor, though. It's just going to show him fighting to see if he can't maybe stay in the top 5.
And here we go, coming to 2 laps to go here at Darlington Raceway. Patrick Gitter up now almost 7 seconds.
Pretty much everybody here tonight. Trying to make certain that we give every.
Big Al, I'm not sure if you can hear me or not, but I've been talking this entire time.
Oh.
It looks like we're having some technical issues, possibly on my end or Big Al's end. We are coming to the end of the show here tonight.
It's going to be official. Patrick Gitter, your Stage 1 and Stage 2 winner. He's going to be 1 lap away from actually getting another hat trick.
That he is. Patrick Gitter takes the white flag, comes out of turn 2 for the final time, now onto the Boeing backstretch. And he is going to enter turn 3. And he's pretty much going to be able to wave to the fans with such a massive lead. And Patrick Gitter has done it. Won Stage 1, Stage 2, and he wins the race. Matt DeCiani going to get himself a 2nd place. Also, Shane Parrish managed to catch up to Miller Bonds and got that position as well. So that is an EPI 1, 2, 3. But still very much got to mention Miller Bonds almost got his first podium here tonight.
Yeah, Miller Bond's definitely taking a long play there. Brian was hoping that it would have been a little bit advantageous to him, but that's why we call them strategies, and unfortunately his didn't work out. But wow, look at those EPI guys, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, definitely awesome job, and I'm glad you can hear me now, Big Al. Did you not hear me when I was talking earlier?
Man, I started this day in a different time zone, man, and my brain is fried.
I was sitting there talking, you just kept on talking over me. I was like, oh, okay. I thought you couldn't hear me.
I couldn't hear you. I had my headset turned down, I guess.
I was wondering. I was like, what is going on? I thought it was myself. But look at that there, Big Al. EPI celebrating together. You love to see the teamwork. Those guys all celebrating a 1, 2, 3. And they've gotten a lot of really impressive finishes all season. Let's take a look at the final result. Of course, looking at the final results, Patrick Gitter, your winner. Matt DeCiani, 2nd place. Shane Parrish, 3rd. Miller Bonds, impressive 4th place. 5th place, Brian Johnson. Schaffner in 6th place. 7th place, Chris Johnson. 8th, Randy Mullins. 9th, Brandon Pasalacqua. And 10th, Cody Colley.
11th place is going to be Ron Strunk. 12th, Greg Wachinski. 13th place, Kevin Zalsiak. J.C. Evans in 14th. Frank Flores, 15th. 16th, Jeffrey Souza. 17th, John Binder. 18th place, Kenny Powell. Randy Belks in 19th. Darren Mullins, 20th. Paul Osen and Jeffrey Ford round out the 22-car field.
Alrighty, and with that, we'll go ahead and take a quick step away. We'll pay some attention to our sponsors here tonight, and we'll be right back with our top 3 finishers, which are all EPI. I guarantee you I know what they're going to be saying in their shout-outs.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms, from camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I feel comfortable, bro. We get a hug. What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our post-race show here with the ISCA Thursday Super Cup Series. Of course, we're going to be starting out with our third-place finisher, Shane Parrish. Man, Shane, I didn't think we were going to get to talk to you here tonight. We always know that you're always going to be one that's going to be in contention in the long runs, but it seemed like you kind of were up and down today, but you did still have that long run speed, and you barely were able to get up there to that third spot. Walk us through the race today.
Yeah, first I want to apologize to Brian back there with the contact, the side draft, and I don't know what happened. Spun him down to the inside wall. I know it upset him pretty much through the race. And again, Brian, I'm sorry. It wasn't intentional by any means. I don't mean to spin anybody. So again, I want to apologize. But the race was tough for me. I'm not real good here. Even the pace, I just burned the tires up. First run, just smoked them. And then, Brian and I had the contact and set me back in the back. And then I came in the next pits and went through my pit stall and went back again. It just a long, rough race for me here. Not been very good at Darlington. I got a lot of improvement to go. Didn't deserve the top three or be third place on the podium, but, I'll take it.
Yeah, you almost didn't even get that third place position. I thought Miller Bonds was going to be able to eke out close a third place, but
you were able to do it on the long run. It seemed like that's where your strength was the long run. It seemed like in the short run you just very off the pace, but it seemed like it helped you to be able to save tire. Like, what was the most difficult thing about this racetrack? I mean, I know Darlington is on the top of the list in difficulty, but what was the thing that kind of got in your way the most?
Yeah, congratulations Patrick on the win, Matt on second. Those guys up there can just drive it up the hill. And two and three, I don't know. I made some changes on the car that was supposed to make it a little bit freer on entry and help me out, but it seemed like it made it tighter. Just couldn't get it going like those guys up there. I mean, they were half a tenth, at some point faster than I was there the first 10 laps. Just couldn't get it moving. Don't know. I'm stumped by why I can't figure it out yet, but hopefully I'll get some more practice in here for next year and I'll be a little bit better and a little more consistent.
Well, definitely, for you to have in your words, a bad night, third place, definitely a good day for you for sure. And I'm sure you'll be better next time you come here. Of course, next week I do believe Kansas on the docket. How do you feel about that racetrack? Can we look forward to seeing you?
Probably not in the top three. I'm not real great there either, but I'm going to try to get some practice in here. Did a little training session with Conti on Wednesday night. Car's a little bit on the free side for me there, so I don't know if I need to change my line or what I need to do. Can't get the speed there either. So I'm running through a little bit of a rust spell right now, but I'm sure I'll get it back. I'll lean on Matt and Patrick and some of the guys up there to try to hopefully help me get me back up there a little bit.
All right, Shane. Well, who can we shout out after your third place finish?
Well, thanks to you guys up there in the booth for doing the great job. I want to thank, everybody in the league. Sorry, I got into it with a couple guys tonight. I'm just not the best here. So I want to apologize to anybody that I might bumped or made uncomfortable. I apologize for that. I want to thank EPI and Mr. Conti and all the guys that work on the setups and what they do. Again, just a super group, and I really, really love being a part of EPI.
All right. Thanks, Shane, for your time, and we'll see you next week, brother.
Yeah, have a great night.
All righty, that was Shane Parrish. Next up in the EPI train here, Matt DeCiani came home in second place, pretty much ran in second all race long. Definitely showed some very good speed. Just seemed like you guys in the EPI cars had really good long run pace. Shane, walk us through the preparation process here for tonight's event. I mean, you guys really just showed how dominant you guys could be all season, and what a good start to this to the playoffs as well.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to tell from officials this week because they've been a nightmare. We kind of knew we had a really good long run car, but like we really didn't get a ton of race practice to validate that. But tonight was a good indicator, and I mean honestly, it came down to driver because we could be fast if we really wanted to early in the run, but like you could abuse the tires so fast in those first 30 laps, and honestly, Patrick. I'm fine for the first 35, 40 laps, but man, he does such a good job those last 20 laps there every run and just get me.
And I wonder if that might have had something to do with clean air versus dirty air. The track position that he had. You think that had something to do with it?
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, you do burn up the fronts if you're pretty close in the wake of the guy in front of you, but I tried to consciously leave about a half second between him so I wasn't getting as much dirty air, but honestly, it comes down to just how you drive it, and he just does a really good job keeping the right front on it.
And very difficult racetrack. And you're right. I mean, this is the exact opposite of what we've seen in the officials. I mean, it has been cautions and just a lot of cautions, which is kind of surprising that we didn't see that tonight. We did see some accidents that probably should have caused cautions, but they didn't. And, it went completely green except for the stage cautions. Did you guys do a lot of long runs in practices? Was the temperature of the racetrack what you kind of expected it to be? Were you surprised at all?
No, not really. Actually, it wasn't that hot in the daytime, and it really didn't drop. Maybe 8 or 9 degrees the whole race. The track didn't change much, and I kind of expected it to change more. So, a little surprising there.
100%. Well, great job to you on the second place. Of course, next week, Kansas is on the docket. How do you feel about that track? Very unique mile and a half.
Yeah, I don't know. Normally, Kansas is literally my worst mile and a half track, but I don't know. We made a lot of progress there in the spring, so I'm curious to see what we're going to be like there. But should be fine. We'll just do what we've been doing, and hopefully we can keep the momentum.
All right. Well, who can we get a shout out to after your second place finish here? And EPI 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, shout out to that. I mean, Shane did a great job getting there up to third. Patrick did a fantastic job all night long. Thanks to you guys for calling the race. Kenny for putting on the league. I'll shout out EPI again. Martin PC. But yeah, thanks guys.
All right. Thanks for your time, Matt, and we'll see you next week at Kansas. Next up, we're going to talk to the Dominator here. We talked to him at the end of stage one, and definitely just an awesome race for you, Patrick. I mean, you took care of business, and it seemed like you just had the what you needed to win this race. I mean, when it came to patience, that's a big part of this race. Chris Johnson at one point was able to get by you. You didn't seem like you got rattled at all. I mean, was that the main thing, that the priority was just kind of have patience and confidence that your car was going to hold up?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think for me it was as the run went on, I started to learn, okay, I had found a certain race pace that I needed to maintain through the first 30 laps or so, and I just had to make a decision, do I try to fight to keep the clean air and track position, or do I let guys go? And Chris was coming fast, and I just was like, man, I don't know if I want to try to fight that because he was having such big runs. So it's a place of a lot of give and take, and I feel like there was a lot of that tonight. Between myself and Chris, the leaders up front, lap cars. I think everybody did a really good job of that.
Yeah, and how surprised were you for it to go as green as it did? I mean, I didn't expect it myself. I thought we'd at least have a caution at some point.
Yeah, I mean that was really kind of shocking. You guys touched on it earlier about the cautions we've seen in officials, and that's been frustrating for us because we hadn't been able to kind of show off the long run speed that we felt like we had. And then to not go to not have any here was a 180. But I think that maybe there was a caution or two, or maybe there was a wreck or two that should have brought out a caution. But I think it speaks to the quality of the guys we have here and the racing that we've got in the ISCA series.
100%, definitely speaks to just the community that's in here. The guys that everybody has respect for one another. They race each other week in and week out, and definitely love it. I mean, glad that every week it seems like we're the other side of the coin here in the ISCA, and you definitely have been dominating. This is your seventh win this season, of course. Your first win now. This is the first race of the playoffs. Is this the kind of what you wanted to do, to step out on the right foot for the playoffs? Because I mean, I know you didn't actually make it every single race, and you kind of joined the season a little bit late. But now you're in competition. You're in, you know, maybe you have an opportunity to win a championship here.
Man, I hope so. I just felt like I've been pretty strong at Darlington. I felt like I had a really good opportunity to possibly come away with a win tonight. So I just kind of buckled down this week, put in a good bit of practice, tried to carry over what I'd learned from seasons prior, in officials where we've been at Darlington. But felt like I just needed to capitalize when I could, and couldn't have done it without the guys at EPI and then our teammates, Matt and Shane and all those guys that helped me in this league and then just in general.
Well, great job on the victory, man. 184 laps led out of 100 or out of 229. And gotta ask, last question about tonight's competition. You got to be pretty wore out. I mean, 229 laps at this racetrack is not. I mean, I even showed up before the broadcast. It's like, this is a long one, 300 miles. What the heck? Like, how are you feeling though?
Yeah, man, it's a workout. I would say after the road courses that those are workouts, but Darlington's not much off just because I mean, you're sawing the wheel, you're close to the wall a lot here. You might be scraping the wall, trying to get the car off of it. I got sucked up into one and two a couple times, trying to just be as efficient as I could through one and two. So yeah, I'm kind of worn out. So I'm ready to, take it easy for the night. Um, and just kind of rest up for next week.
Next week, Kansas. How you feeling about it?
I Kansas is kind of hit and miss for me, so I'm glad we are able to capitalize tonight. So, um, I don't know. It's Kansas is an interesting track. It's a mile and a half, but it's a little bit unique for a mile and a half. I think we'll have good cars and we'll bring good speed, but just me personally, it's one of the mile and a halfs I don't have quite as much experience at. So, might be a little bit of a learning curve between now and next week for me.
All right. Well, I'm sure you'll get to it. I mean, and like you said, you won here tonight, so you don't really have to have too much of a concern or pressure going into Kansas. But great job to you, Patrick. Who can we shout out to after your dominant finish here tonight?
I appreciate it, Brian. Shout out to you guys in the booth for broadcasting. You guys do a great job every week, and thanks to Kenny for putting the league on. Appreciate EPI, Team Conti for the work they've done on the set this week, and then my teammates Matt, Shane, the other guys at EPI. I learn a lot from them week to week, and they really helped me this week to nail this place down. Got to thank Martin PC and C12 Design Shop.
All righty. Well, thanks for your time, Patrick. We'll see you next week, brother. I'm sure we'll get to talk to you again if you have another finish like this one.
Yeah, I hope so, guys. I appreciate it. Take care.
All righty. That was Patrick Gitter, driver of the 21 machine. Definitely a great job to him. Congratulations to all the drivers that showed up here tonight and keeping it as clean as they did. Of course, we only finished with 8 drivers on the lead lap. Just shows you how green this race went. And then it did stay fairly close for most of the race. Of course, I do want to shout out Big Al. Hopefully he gets plenty of rest. I know he's kind of was in a different time zone, a little bit jet lag there for him. 9-hour drive he had to do this morning, so I don't blame him for having to retire a little bit early, but I definitely appreciate him being my partner in crime. But of course, make sure you tune in next week. We'll be at Kansas Speedway, which of course is a 1.5-mile track that, for the most part, traditionally has been a top groove style racetrack. So definitely curious to see how that's going to play out. Who's going to bring the right setup? Who's going to bring the right attitude? We'll definitely have to wait and see, and who's going to possibly get the second win of the playoffs here in the ISCA. Of course, that'll be about 15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when the broadcast itself will start. Race will start a little after 9:30. So make sure you tune right on in. We'll be back here with some action here on the ISCA Thursday Super Cup Series. And we definitely appreciate everybody out there tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share us on Facebook. Pretty much, follow us on all the social medias. But we definitely appreciate it. And we'll see you next time